I
You already
stopped.
did that. Sweet.
I didn't even know it was going. I didn't know it
It's
started.
fine. It's fine. We usually start and then I'll edit that part out, but gotcha.
You edit the audio out, and then the video, I just upload the whole thing. Normally. I don't know that I've cut a video, but...
Oh. I don't think we usually say shit that's bad.
No, I mean, we're pretty conscious about it, and then we'll cut it.
Yeah.
For the 5 people that have watched any of our things yet, anyways.
Nice.
For all 5 people.
I started publicly publishing them of just like us two, and then some of the interviews that we've done semi-recently.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing a ton of views yet, but...
Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh, okay. So before we start, I was going to trash talk somebody, but I don't know their name. Hopefully they don't follow us. But,
So you're going to wait until we are recording again to trash talk somebody?
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I'm not. I will say, however, we can talk about this when we start. We should just start.
Okay. Do we want to answer a listener question that would be relevant for a third point of view here? I think that'd be interesting. Or you just want to go into it?
No, I'm down with the listener question.
Okay.
I don't think we'll have any issue with...
What would you prefer, Rebecca? Would you prefer a studio practice one or like a business practice one?
Oh, always business.
Yeah,
Business.
come on.
Okay.
All
All
right.
All right.
Oh, this is actually good. That top one. Do you recommend manufacturer's insurance? If so, if a handle breaks off.
That's a good one. Okay.
Yep.
Green cabin. She always asks good questions. Okay. All right, we got one. Sweet.
I think we should also do the next one. They're short.
Okay. Yeah, they're from the same person, so.
Next one says one price include, like, which pricing would you rather have one price including tax or one price plus tax? And yeah, that's it.
Gotcha.
Cool. Okay.
Easy.
Sweet. Green cabin will be happy about that.
Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, it sounds good.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as you're not speaking off away from the
Over
mic
here.
kind of deal. Yeah.
Yeah, don't be like Rachel where she like comes off of the camera.
Okay.
Like every now and then she'll like
The chair will just roll,
Like,
and she's not even a rolling chair, and it'll
I'm
just
down
like
for
go
a
off
snug.
screen.
yeah.
It's cold in here.
It is chilly. Here, we'll make it bigger so you can see her face.
It's cold in there?
It is.
Yeah, it's like
It was really cloudy
weirdly
today.
Yeah, it's like weirdly chilly.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the thermostat's set at 72, but it doesn't. This room is so big. When it's 72, it's like that's not fucking 72.
It feels
Okay.
really, really.
It seems
chilly.
like
Plus,
you'd just be
super
blasted with sun through the windows there, that it would just heat up, but...
It does.
It was really dark today because it stormed most of the day. Yesterday, it got up to 78 in here, and I couldn't get it to come back down because it was all sun all day.
Yeah, we've been waiting for rain all day, and I don't think it's even rain to drop.
Can you do a I do a schedule.
Nest? Oh.
Yeah, I have a schedule on it.
Yeah, so it goes down to like 65 during the night, and then
Yeah.
yeah.
And the AC one I haven't set. So
You should
it
set that
goes
one
up. Yeah, I should.
Yeah.
I'm not the one paying the AC bill.
On recording.
No, it's fine.
It's fine. They're never gonna listen. The people that do pay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Oh, okay. So shall we start? We should start.
Yeah, let's start.
Okay. Hi.
Hi, we're live.
Hello.
We're live, and we have Rebecca
Hello.
Graves Prowse with
Yes,
us.
we called in Rebecca 2.0 for today's episode.
Yeah, well, since we live in the same apartment complex, it's like, why don't we just have a night together?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't... Have we only done the one episode with you, Rebecca?
Yes.
Yeah, that was back on like 30-something, I think.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
It was, and we had a horrible internet connection over at the main studio, and I kept losing you guys.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that was great.
Yep. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I saw the thumbnail of the video a couple days ago, and it was like red glasses, I think, and mohawk. Still got the mohawk. Maybe not as long as it was in the video, I think.
Yeah, I got caught in the rain today.
Okay.
And you haven't gone to the you haven't buzzed the sides recently.
For a while, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Okay. So for those,
do we need? Yeah, we should
yeah.
probably introduce
For those who don't know you, who are you?
I'm Rebecca. I'm the owner of Gravesco Pottery, and I work with Becca every day.
Yeah. Nice.
Tell everybody what, how many people Gravesco consists of, and maybe tell us like what your goals are for like sales this year.
Yeah. Okay. So we have 14 people on the team now. We have 4 production potters. Then we have a few people on the studio staff, and we also have a few people on digital marketing now as well. This year has been a huge transition year for us, which we'll get into, I think, later in the conversation. But ultimately, the goal for this year is to at least meet what we did last year, which was 640,000. And then fingers crossed we'll get to at least 700. But with some of the new stuff that's coming up for fall, once we get closer to the end of the year, we'll be able to really have a good grasp on where we're going. We may be able, my stretch goal for the year is 800,000, and there's a possibility we might hit that.
And that's just straight sales, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah,
14
that's
people.
definitely not including all of the expenses. Like, we won't make much profit this year.
Right. That's crazy that you can make the same amount of profit as somebody like doing it by themselves, like on the side, but your scale is just so much bigger, and you can just get so many more pots made and so many more sales made and staff, and the problems you face are way different than the problems, individual artists face. But that's all similar problems too, in some respects.
Yeah, just on a different scale.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the things when I started growing the business was I had a lot of health issues and had been working by myself. So I wanted to grow the business enough that if I needed to take time off for my health, that I could, and it wouldn't stop, like the wheels wouldn't quit turning. And then I realized that there was the opportunity to actually turn it into something a little bit bigger. And employ more people, and hopefully get to a point that everyone on the team is doing something that they enjoy doing, rather than having that backup job doing something that they don't love doing.
Right. Because it seems like you've got roles that are so well spread out that, like you even mentioned, like digital marketing and stuff, like most places, if they would have people working for them, would be like studio assistant, that you'd be helping with like parts of the hands-on process, not necessarily like the background behind the scenes, like not even clay related at all.
Yeah, and that's new for us this year, just in the last couple months. Nice. So it's definitely been a huge change.
Yeah.
Okay. Did we wanted to do a listener question, but did we want to talk about our days at all before we start?
I think we should.
Okay.
Ryan, how was your day?
All right, so I've been getting over sickness. I got a stomach bug from Rachel over the weekend. So I was just like low energy, couldn't do anything, sat around the house. I literally didn't even like go in the studio. I was just like watching TV, laying down, resting for like 3 naps a day and sleeping all the time. So yeah, I'm kind of I'm probably like 90% today. Like good. I got back out. It's Wednesday now, but I was out for, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So I'm back to it. Yeah, it was just like the low energy and the stomach issues and stuff, just annoying, terrible. And then so I'm getting back to it, got back to exercise. We went on a run today, which is good. I was kind of like getting on myself a little bit. No, I did not.
I'm thinking it and you're saying it.
I did not. I took it easy though. We went walking, and I was like, Rachel, I'm only gonna go like 1-on-1 off, where we usually do intervals. So we have light posts along this road in the neighborhood, and we like go to a light post, and that's like an interval, and we just like run and then walk and then run and then walk. So normally I do like 2 runs and then 1 walk, and I was taking it easy today. So, but we still got some we did it like normal. So it was good. Maybe I'll get back to a full run tomorrow, but yeah, so we're getting back to it, and that's pretty much it. I've been easing back into the studio a little bit too, but nothing much else.
Do you enjoy running?
I don't mind it. I mean, I'm not doing like a marathon, but I'm running like a mile and a half. I'm not.
I don't know why, but every time you tell me, like literally every single time that he tells me that he runs, I just think you just don't strike me as a runner.
No.
Like at all. And it's not like a bad thing. It's just like maybe it's because like in my mind I'm like runners are like pretentious and like
Yeah.
like I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But then
he's wearing that super fast Nike shirt, though.
he is.
I know. I look faster in this, don't I?
You do.
I just like to wear these like dry fit shirts just for like a t-shirt. Like some people would wear these under stuff or just to work. Like I'll just wear them out. Like if it's a summer day, I'm like, this is comfortable as shit. I'm not gonna sweat as bad in this. That's why I wear it. Now I'm like, now I got a better reason to wear it. Now I'm running and stuff.
No, I'm running and stuff.
I mean, I don't run because I'm like, I want to do a marathon. I just run because it's like, I normally am sedentary. I don't go out of the house. And I've been wanting to do something to be active. And I don't want to sit around the house and like do weight exercises.
Right.
So if I like get out of the house and run around the neighborhood for 30 minutes, that's not going to kill me.
Right. Have you ever considered just like a silly power walk around the neighborhood?
That would be great.
No. There was a woman that we passed last week or 2 weeks ago that was power walking. And we were kind of dancing with her a little bit because we were going on the same path, but we were doing the intervals. So we would like jog and then walk and then jog and then walk. And we would like pass each other and she was like catching up and then walking. But it was like, do people power walk and not look goofy? Like, is that a thing?
No, but there's levels of goofy. Like there's the power walk lady that does the horse gallops and trots and like she's got a whole system. There's a video. You can get the VHS of it.
VHS. It's only on VHS.
It's only on VHS or YouTube.
Oh, wait. Did you? I saw something on the internet and I have no idea if this is true, but I wouldn't put it past like the world. I saw that they're doing parental controls and they're like, what do you put a VHS in? And it's like, and like if the kids don't know what like where to put the VHS, like it's a tape player, like to play movies, they can't like get through. That's like the parental control.
Oh, so they don't have to, do they have to answer? It's like a multiple choice question and they have to say like A track, VCR. Something else.
Yeah.
We
CD
all know
player.
that's where peanut butter and jelly sandwich goes.
Yeah, that's where it gets toasted. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
How was your day, Becca?
Yeah.
My day was good. I met another artist. Her Instagram is Glazed and Confused, and I'm not wearing her earrings, but her earrings are the fucking coolest.
They're fantastic.
Did you see them?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
She local to Indy there, or you just?
Yeah. And
okay.
And so she lives up in oh no, it's Glazed Confused Creations.
Okay.
So
I was like, there's a lot of glazed and confused on here.
I know. And so I met up and gave her some earring boxes that I had, and
nice. And
she gave me some messed up earrings that, by the way, weren't very messed up. And they're fucking phenomenal. And so that was good. And then I went to work, ate spaghetti, and threw pinch pots all day. But what is good is that yesterday, because I had to throw more mugs than I was supposed to, I'm already at my like $1,000 quota for the week. So I'm like at $960. So I'm like, I'm taking tomorrow off.
Nice.
I support that.
Yeah. And she's like, I think as an employee, like it makes my life easier to be consistent, like to not make $1,200 or $700, just to make $1,000 a week. It makes my life easier, makes your life fucking easier. And it's like, if I went and made like $1,400, it'd be like, ah, shit, I have to pay you $400 more than the week before.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And if I can do it in 3 days, why the fuck not?
Yep.
I feel like you're very, if you hit that quota for yourself, then you're gonna stick with it. Like for me, I would be like, oh, I'm almost at, so I can get 100 or 1,300 because I can work an easy day tomorrow and easily make more than what I would make the previous week.
I feel like most people would be like you.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm the way I am, and
but that's great for 3 days, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and that's it.
In 2 days, I threw $800 worth of pots.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, and actually, honestly, I threw $880 worth of pots, but 20 of those were my fuck ups, so they didn't count.
Oh.
So
that you didn't get paid for because they were.
Yeah. So I didn't get paid for them. So. Okay. Yeah. But yeah. So that's good. So, and then I'm going to your house on Friday.
Yeah.
There you go.
Love
hey,
it.
on those 20 fuck ups, if we end up selling out of all of those in the clearance sale that's coming out, I'll give you half.
You don't have to. It's fine.
I'll give you your half rate.
So that means she didn't smash them.
You gave me like a $20 lotion today. I think that's good.
That's true. Okay.
Like I think
that's a really nice lotion.
It really is.
$20 lotion.
How was your day today, Rebecca?
My day was awesome. I went to see my chiropractor. I go every Wednesday. And he does more than just adjustments. He does all kinds of modalities. So I get muscle scraping and cupping. So I look like an octopus attacked my back. And then he does an adjustment. And sometimes he'll do like some assisted stretching and stuff. And we actually got my shoulder that's been messed up since we moved to Indy 4.5 years ago back into the socket correctly for the first freaking time.
Wow.
And I can do this now.
Oh, wow.
I haven't been able to do that for years.
So
you can do like a big wave to people.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
So like what would happen before it would like stop right above your head?
I would get like right here and it would stop. So I could like move to the front and go up, but I couldn't just do this.
Wow.
Oh, wow. So like can he tell the socket thing just from feeling it? He can just tell from like.
Well, we've been working on it for literally 3 years.
Wow.
So trying to get the muscles to relax so that the bursa could heal and all kinds of just nasty stuff and laser and all the things. Today was the day that it's been getting progressively better. Today was the day that it finally went back where it's supposed to be.
Okay.
Oh fuck, I had a question.
And that's not just like a pop situation, like popping it. It's like a shifting. How did it get messed up? Was it a specific injury or was it
it was a
overtime
injury.
thing?
When we were building the shelves in the first studio here, I built like 60 feet of shelves and there were 5 layers. And the very last screw on the very last shelf was the back flipping corner. And I was at a weird angle with the drill. And when I pushed down, my shoulder popped out of the.
Yeah, it's where you're like trying to get because you got to get strength behind the drill, and then you're like using muscles that aren't really give you the right momentum and force.
So I dislocated it, and it just got so swollen and inflamed, and then I couldn't use it. So then all of the muscles in my shoulder got jacked up, and
And then she hired 4 production potters.
Yeah, and so I was like, "Screw this! I need people to help me."
Wow.
Those who can't do.
Yes. We don't teach. We just hire other people. So like I've still been able to throw, and I did production for another 2.5 years after that, but it took a huge toll. Like I had some nerve damage and stuff like that. So
wow. Okay.
Taking the last couple of months mostly off from making pots has also like been one of the final things that's kind of helped the swelling go down. So we could get it back where it needs to be.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, that was flipping fantastic.
Yeah.
And then I shot like 300 product photos this afternoon. So that was really satisfying.
Nice. Do you like the photography process? Do you do DSLR and all that good stuff?
Yeah. So I haven't traditionally done the DSLR because I don't know how to use camera settings. Growing up, my dad was big into cameras and manual settings, and we had all the Pentax cameras and the interchangeable lenses. And from like the age of 8, when I was really interested in it, I was fed so much bad information that stuck in my head that like I just could not wrap my head around manual settings.
Yeah.
So finally I was like, I just need to let it all go, work with my iPhone and call it a day. Because you can only do so much in the sports mode on your DSLR.
Right. Sports mode. Or auto.
Yeah. And I've worked with a lot of really amazing photographers over the years for different projects. So it's like, I know that I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
So I'll just embrace the thing that I'm able to do. But a couple weeks ago, Jen Beachy, she used to have Function Pottery, and she quit, and she is now a soap maker and a photographer. She came and did a product shoot with me, and then helped me set up an on-white product photography studio. Like we got the lighting, we got the shadows, and she explained the settings to the camera in a way to me that made sense.
Jen Beachy is literally a magician.
She is.
She's the reason I got into wholesale. She's
Yep.
the reason I met you.
Yep.
She's a lot of reasons.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like we've mentioned her on here a couple times.
Yeah.
And a lot of this stuff with Jen, like at the beginning, the info she was feeding you was actually me.
Right, exactly.
So we were in the studio together. She'd be like, I don't know what to tell her. Like, well, this is what I would do.
I sent Jen an email of like 10 questions. I'm like, I need
Yes.
to know these answers, but don't feel pressured. But like, could you please help me?
Jen's like, I don't know what to tell her.
Yeah, because Jen's pottery was very similar to my pottery, which
Yep.
is very similar to Rebecca's pottery. So
Yeah.
Right.
We kind of all grew up together, not really fully realizing we were all growing up together.
and in different age demographics,
Yeah.
almost 10 years exactly.
Yeah.
Each of us, right? Oh no, Jen's
No,
young. She's
Jen's
37.
young. She's not that old.
She's not that old. She's young.
She's young.
She just acts old.
Yeah, she's an old soul.
Yeah.
She's a caretaker
Nice.
for her family. She's
Yeah.
on it. So Jen taught me how to do things, and it makes sense now. And I got a new to me used Canon, and it has like the cool app on your phone that you can completely control the camera and see what you're seeing through the lens on your phone. So I could control the shutter and all the settings and all that stuff. So it has been a game changer. Instead of like going from the table to the camera to the table to the camera to the table, I could just do everything on my phone while I'm at the table working. So it was a good day.
Yeah.
Now I'm downloading the photos and I'll edit them tonight, tomorrow, and we're revamping the whole website and all of the marketing for the rest of the year. And
So is that
Well,
most of what the
fresh look.
digital marketing folks are doing? They're doing are they doing the social media and the website and the like email list and stuff like that? Or is
they're
it
not doing the social media. I'm still going to be doing that. But we are planning out a calendar for the entire year, a marketing calendar. So the cadence of the social media will follow that along with what I already do. And then we've got Christy, who's going to be doing direct marketing to like corporate entities for corporate gifting. We just got our first project that she brought in today. We're waiting on final numbers from them, but it sounds like a done deal. So I'm super excited about that. And then once we've got that all kind of wrangled, she'll move on and start our affiliate program for influencers. And we've got Rob, who's doing all of the email marketing, and he's a data genius. He loves getting into the numbers and really figuring out who our followers are and what they want and what they're looking for so that we can start to tailor the experience on the website to that. He'll be doing our emails.
okay?
And
So
then
did you
we have
see
a graphic designer.
did you see a need for the digital marketing because you were looking at kind of like where your income comes from and seeing that there's a potential here for the online sales more, and that's where you kind of wanted to put some money toward it?
Yeah. So here's what's happened. We have been for the last 4 years working with one private label client, and it grew to a point that it was a really large chunk of our business, but also an even more exponentially large chunk of our time and an incredible amount of stress. So at the beginning of the year, I fired the client, and we spent a few months kind of sundowning everything and now we're in the process of like turning this big ship in a completely different direction. So when I started looking at what needs to happen to be able to actually completely change direction for the studio, I realized that I would be spending 100% of my time on marketing and have no time in the studio.
Okay,
And
because she was paying so much of your bills and
right.
your income that you were going to have to work a lot harder to get those sales.
Yeah. Yeah. She was doing the selling. So now we don't have that person doing the selling anymore. We need to do our own selling, and that ends up falling on my shoulders. And just like every position that I hire in the studio, it's like, okay, this has gotten to a point that if I'm doing this, I can't do any of the other things. So we get stuck. So it's like, what is causing me to be stuck? And it's like, these are not things that I'm an expert at. I know enough to be dangerous, and that's about it. So it was time to outsource. And I've worked with, it started with Rob. I've worked with him a little bit off and on over the years. We've had some consultations and meetings about digital marketing, and he's brilliant. And he came up to me last year and he's like, we need to do this. Come on, let's just do this. I'm moving to Montana and I want to work remotely doing your digital marketing.
Oh, wow.
So when I was ready to make the big shift, I called him, and he's doing about anywhere between 10 and 15 hours a week. And he gets an incredible amount of stuff done in that amount of time. And then Justin joined us 3 months ago.
Yeah.
I think about 3 months ago. He's a graphic designer with a little bit of clay knowledge as well. And he came to me saying he wanted to be a studio assistant. And I'm like, I don't really need another studio assistant, but I do really need a graphic designer, because I was also doing all of that and all of the web maintenance and all of the social media. And like, I really just want to hang on to the thing that I'm passionate about, which is the clay and the social media and the overarching image. So like, me being a creative director makes more sense than me being the person who does all the things.
Mm-hmm.
So he joined doing that. And then our last open house, my friend Christy drove in from St. Louis. I haven't seen her in 10 years.
She is a delight.
She is such a delight.
She's amazing. We love her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we've kept in touch over the years. She worked for me when I had a gallery in Ohio. And life happened, and she went to be a baker, and then she moved away. And we've always kept kind of loosely in touch, but a connection that's consistently authentic. Like, it's never been surface. And we might not talk to each other for 6 months, but when we do, it's like, hey, this is going on in my life. I need to tell somebody who's going to give a shit. So she came to the open house, stayed the weekend, and as she was like getting ready to pack up her stuff, she's like, can I just make your candles for you? And I'm like, well, you can make my candles for me, but what I really want is for you to use your marketing brain, because you're a freaking marketing genius. And in the course of a conversation, she's like, so what I'm hearing is that your marketing message needs to be because we care, because everything you're doing is because you care about the details, because you care about the people, because you care about the environment, because you care about all of these things. So let's build a marketing thing around that. And I'm like, yes, let's.
Yeah.
Come work with us. So she joined the team.
She actually
late
joined,
April.
Yeah, she joined before the open house. Right?
Yeah. She came to the March open house.
Oh, okay.
And then mid-April finally said, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Let's do this. And she came for the Mother's Day open house and met everybody on the team and got to hang out. And she is also going to live in our building.
Yeah, she's going to live 2 doors down from me.
Oh, really?
Very excited.
Yeah.
I told her she could come pet my cats whenever she wants.
I keep telling her she could take Ruby, but they haven't bonded yet.
I know. Maybe Babs can have field trips over to her apartment. She would love that.
Yeah.
That would be great. We're going to do that.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, it's super exciting. We're like in this weird transition point right now where we've been starting all of these projects and nothing is finished yet. So we have like this crazy project list with a whole bunch of stuff 75% of the way done, which just stresses me out to the absolute max.
Right.
And a lot of it was waiting on photography. So when Jen came, that like got us closer to the finish line. And now I'm finishing up the product photography this week, and we should be able to start launching. But We've done a rebrand. Like the entire website's going to be totally different. The look of our products, while the pots are exactly the same, like the way that we're presenting them is very different. And I'm really excited about it.
New glazes too.
Yeah, we have new glazes too.
Yeah, and all colors that I don't like.
Yes. Yes.
No, that's not true. I just don't like the brown.
You like the white?
I like the white, and I like that gray. That's about it.
You better like the white. It's yours.
It is mine. The Isaac.
The Isaac
The
White.
white isn't yours.
Yeah, the bucket does not say Isaac White. It says Becca White.
I called him today, and I left him a message, and I was like, hi, this is the Department of Copyright Infringement in Washington, D.C. I'm calling for Isaac Shu. It seems that he's been stealing all of his friends' designs.
You should totally steal his pumpkins.
I know you should. And but then he called me back, and I couldn't finish my message. So,
Damn it.
but yeah, I told him, I was like, I think people think that we don't like each other, but we do. So if you were wondering, Isaac's like my brother.
I think people in here understand it, but I don't know though. Okay, so the brand, I always wonder how much like the scenic photography and like I don't know what you would call it. I guess it's like scenic, like you're building a scene, a whole thing of a table setting, and you've got a pot on there, and like, if that helps sell the pots better. But I'm sure if it's somebody that is not in the know and doesn't know your work, it probably just looks way better,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I found when I started doing more styled photography is that people are better able to imagine it in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Or there's that aspirational thing. I want it to feel like that in my life.
Yeah.
But then I went too far with it, and I didn't have any clean shots. So now we're going back to, we'll have clean shots of everything and then start layering in styled photography again.
Clean shots as in like they don't know how big it realistically is with the hand or something like that?
Yeah, and just on a white background so that it doesn't get too bogged down in what's going on around it.
Yeah, because then it's
I'll have some
like
of that lotion. Thank you. Plug for Benjamin Soap Company here. Oh my gosh, it's the best damn lotion.
It's really good.
Is that what it's called? Best damn lotion?
It should be.
It should be, but no, she's too classy for that name.
Okay. Best Dom lotion.
Oh my God, I have something that's like really random that's not about this at all. But
Surprise.
No, I was gonna say that I did an open house on Saturday.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, I did an open house on Saturday at my personal studio, and like we probably had maybe a couple hundred people come, and I sold $500 in like 3 hours.
Wow, way better than the other 2 shows you've done this year.
I know. So yeah, and and everybody was like, "I love these shitty cups. Like that's the best marketing ever." And I was like, "Thank you."
Finally.
Were they other artists that came through there, or was it the planned like studio crawl kind of deal? Is that?
No, well, we did the studio crawl at our studio, and I did well at that. But no, it's just mostly like people that appreciate art.
Yeah.
Okay, but it was
Or know
focused
the
on
other
that.
artists.
It was focused on that building, right?
Yeah.
So it was the
Yeah.
building had multiple artists that were open. Okay.
How much did you end up doing at our open house?
Well, minus the $100 that I lost.
Never found it, huh?
Never found it.
Son of a bitch.
Minus the literal $100 bill that you gave me. I think I did 900.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
I think. I can't remember for sure, but I remember being very pleased. It was either 900 or 800.
That's fantastic.
So,
Yeah, that's good. I was basing my number on the show that she did at the brewery kind of place, the food hall,
the
and
$80 one, and you did $140 that
and
day.
then the one at the convention center, I think. Or
the convention center was such a shit show, but we knew that was going to be a shit show.
Yeah. Okay.
Pinterest keeps trying to get me to do a show at the convention center for a $900 booth fee. I'm like, nope.
Fuck you.
Not gonna happen.
No, thank you.
I would also suppose your styled shots and like the nicer photography looks good for like wholesalers and bigger companies
Yes.
that want to do business with you, because they're like they're paying for this photography. They got their shit together. Like they're
Yeah.
not just the Joe Schmo. Like if I ask them to make me 100 of something, they're not going to be like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. And you
Can
got
you
line
sell-
sheets and all that kind of stuff, you know.
Can you like sell the photography to your wholesalers?
I probably could. Right now, we're using it as an added value that they are allowed to use our photography.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. I would like that's more what I was wondering. It's like
Yeah.
if they're going to use it.
Yeah.
Do you have that kind of photography on your fair side of things too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm getting ready to update all of that. Like I've started updating some of it, but I have a combo of just simple shots and then full lifestyle shots. And when I joined Fair originally, the first meeting that I had with them, they said that you really need a combination of the two, that the stores that are the shops on Fair that had the combination of lifestyle shots and simple on white shots were the ones that do the best.
Yeah.
So when I ended up switching up all of our photography on there and kind of mixing it up and learned what their SEO best practices were, we blew up on Fair.
Wow. You still get a fair amount of business on there?
It's actually, we have gotten a lot of business this year. We're still up from last year, but it just suddenly tanked in the last like 3 or 4 weeks.
Once clients start using you on there, do they go directly to you in the future, or is it kind of an agreement that they don't have a contact with you unless you go out of your way to make a contact and like go off of Fair? I'm guessing
Well,
that'd be a
it's
conflict
a
to do that,
violation of
but
Fair's terms
yeah.
for us to take them off the platform. But if they choose to seek off-platform sales, they can. We've had a couple who have just said, we're not thrilled with the direction Fair is going and we'd like to work with you directly. But for the most part, people seem to be doing well ordering through Fair because they get 60 or 90 days to pay. And I'm not offering 60 or 90-day terms.
Okay. So
like
does Fair take care of you shorter time than that, and then they just kind of take that burden of the cost?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So if I have a customer that wants terms, I can give them a direct link to Fair and I don't have to pay a commission, but because I've brought a new customer to Fair, they'll handle the terms because then they can market all of their other things to them.
Okay.
So, and we just joined Abound Wholesale as well. Started that like 2 weeks ago. We've gotten 3 sales so far. But just like Fair, it's the kind of thing where once we figure out the SEO best practices for it and start to get some steady business under our belt, then it boosts us in the algorithm and we'll start to sell more. So
yeah. I wonder if those wholesale different aspects. I know of Fair, but I'm sure there's, like you said, Abound, and I'm sure there's other ones. Like, is that overwhelming to manage? It's more like made to order, so it's a little different than having an inventory set that's on like 4 different platforms. Like some people might sell on Etsy and their own personal website and wherever else, and they have to manage inventory. But is it complex with the wholesale aspect like that on different platforms?
It's not anymore. It started out being really challenging. But once I figured out what people were looking for on the platform, I realized that I just needed to do like a truncated product line. Things were originally only available in black and white. And you can only buy them with minimum quantity. So some things you have to buy 4, some things you have to buy 6. Our artist choice mugs, you have to buy 12. So that was the only way that I could think of to keep it from being, I'll have one of this and one of that and one of the other thing, and making the glazing too complicated, because with the private label project that we had 16 different glaze combinations that we were wrangling. So adding that many variables to Fair 2, I would have completely lost my sanity. So we just did the black and white until late last summer, we added the gray. So to get something more unusual, more one-off, you had to go to our website and buy retail.
Gotcha. Okay. Would you say that's a good like practice for anybody like dipping their toe into wholesale as well?
Yes. It's easier I have found to get started when you have a very specific offering.
Okay.
When
Rather
buyers
than
get
saying-
overwhelmed with too many options, they'll
Okay.
put stuff in their cart and they don't pull the trigger.
Okay. Because I was wondering that with some wholesale clients, it's like I've got a lot of different forms I can do
Yeah.
that make sense financially for me, and then I'm like, they ask for colors, and I'm like, I can do most colors except on these forms. I can't do certain colors, but
Right.
like, because I don't really care what colors, but I do kind of care because, like, I've figured out certain colors don't look good on a certain form, or the glazes don't play
Right.
nicely when you scale them up from a shot glass to a cereal bowl because they just, it's different. So, okay. So if you had to go with like fewer forms or fewer glaze combinations, what do you think?
I would go, at this point, I would go with fewer glaze combinations. When I was working alone, I went with fewer forms.
Okay.
Because
Same.
it's easier for wholesale to have some backstock in bisque ready to glaze than to make it to order. Because making it to order, unless you're going to kill yourself, you're looking at 4 to 6 weeks to ship. Because if you do it faster than that and you tell them it's going to be a 2-week turnaround, what happens when the power goes out mid-firing and you have to remake this stuff because the glaze isn't going to be right?
Right.
Or what happens if you have kiln issues and you have to wait a few days for parts? Like, there's so many things that can go wrong in what we do, as we all know. And if it's a special order, absolutely something's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So by simplifying it and having the bisque on hand, it's really made a difference because it shortened our turnaround time, and that turnaround time the shorter turnaround I can't even say it. The shorter turnaround time will boost you in the algorithm on those platforms.
Okay.
So the longer it takes you to fulfill orders, the less likely you are to be shown it to too many people.
Mm-hmm. And if they go directly to you and not through those platforms, do you offer more combinations, or it's the same?
Nope.
It's the same
Same thing.
offering.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I initially got started doing wholesale, like, I just let people order what they wanted and gave them a 50% discount if they ordered at least $300. And I made myself crazy because it would be one of a thing and then two of something else. And then they wanted one of this and this and this. And they wanted them each in different glaze colors.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd get the whole flipping order done and there'd be one thing that cracked in the kiln.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So then what do? Do you do an extra of every one of those 42 things and then let it sit on the shelf?
Yeah, I'm going through that a little bit with a new wholesale client, and but they're trying to figure out, they're trying to go with like it's the first time they've sold my stuff, so I give them a selection, and they're getting like one of this form or two of this form, and they're getting like one of each color combination of each
Sweet
of
baby
those.
Jesus.
They're picking like 8 specific colors, but a maximum of like 2 things in a color. So and then if it's mugs, they might order like 4 of that color, but it's still a good assortment of different colors because they're trying to go with figure out what customers like versus.
Yeah. Are they new retail?
No, not a new shop. They've been around, but they're new to me. They're new to me wholesaling to them. So,
Yeah.
and they were the most specific wholesaler I've worked with like wanting dimensions of things, and they basically wanted like a spreadsheet of like options so they can just check things off and like put quantities.
Yeah.
And that's what I ended up getting in the end, which made it easier for me because I could just check things off when I got it ready and
Right.
all that kind of thing. But yeah, I had like issues with bowls, and then I had to like remake some bowls because I glazed 3 of them and the glaze combo didn't come out. So it's like, well, I don't have any bisque bowls anymore because I used all of them. So I got to remake all of them.
Yeah. The cool thing when I started working with Fair that I really liked about the platform and would love to figure out how to copy on our own website for our own wholesale, they'll allow you to split an order. So if we have a delay with something or something needs to be remade, I can go in and just hit split order and then choose which items we're shipping now and which ones we're shipping later. And it's not back order. It's just 2 separate delivery dates. And that has been so incredibly helpful because it's built into the system so the customers already know it exists and it's not a surprise when it happens.
Yeah.
But also, if we have $1,000 order, I can ship $800 of it and just let them know next week the remaining 200 ship.
Do you get shafted on the shipping part of that?
Nope.
Okay, that's good.
Nope.
Yeah.
As long as shipping is not more than 25%, then you're fine.
Okay, cool. Because you'd have to split up. I mean, you'd have to ship a bigger box if it was all one order anyway. So,
right.
Or like boxes or whatever. So, I guess it ends up netting the same amount of boxes in the end. It's just you're splitting it up. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Luckily, they were local to me and they were in the area and picked up more than half the order already.
Nice.
So they've already got a little taste, and then I'll give them the rest of the order in the next couple of weeks, hopefully. So
that's cool.
Yeah. As long as they're happy with the stuff, I don't want to try to shortchange them with pieces that I'm like not even happy with on my side and be like, I hope they're happy.
Right. That was one of the other reasons starting out I went with black and white, because I knew they were going to come out fine every time.
Yeah, especially when you're like, these glazes. I love these glazes. People love the glazes, and then like I have the most confidence in these two because they're the simplest.
Yep.
Most risk-free.
The least likely to look different on someone's screen.
Yep.
Yeah. And they don't mar.
Yes.
Unlike East Fork Pottery. What?
I thought you were talking any shit.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, I did not promise that.
Oh, can I say...
Are we recording yet?
I think so.
I hope so.
Can I say, remember when I did that recording of you, like we did the podcast of us talking, and then it stopped recording like halfway through. Anyway, well, I'm just like interjecting with things that are not even relevant this whole time. You guys can have a conversation. I'm just gonna be I'll be like Jar Jar Binks. So what I've been struggling with recently is people saying that things have to be done a proper way, or specifically also people cutting their pots in half.
I died laughing at your reel about cutting your pots in half. That was fantastic.
I'm just so mad. Like, why are you like teaching all these newbies that they have to have like pots a specific way? I literally saw a video today that said something wasn't proper. Like
Who's
this
the
is
pottery police.
A finished
this is
product
not
wasn't proper
way to do this. I'm like, I thought that looked great.
They were judging the end process. The end product or the process of getting to that product?
The end product.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I like, ugh. Yes, the pottery police. I'm like anti-pottery police. What's the fuck the police? I'm
Wow,
What is the
FTPP, fuck the pottery police?
Yeah. What's the other one? Like, what's the actual one? Fuck the police, like, or
that is it.
No. The one that's like that they started saying like after the Black Lives Matter movement.
Are you talking about defund the police?
Maybe.
Defund the pottery police?
No. No, it was like, ACAB, all cops are bastards. All pottery police are bastards.
I don't know that acronym, but that doesn't roll off the tongue.
A POB.
It's as horrible as the pottery police.
Oh my god.
Anyway, continue.
I mean, I think we've talked about it before. Cutting the pots in half if you're a noob, like if you don't know, like some people don't even know where the clay's at, right?
Not saying I definitely think when you're a brand new student, you should be cutting your pots in half to see what your progress looks like.
But also, you shouldn't be cutting it in half with the expectation that everything is perfectly even. Because if you're throwing something with a curved bottom, it should be thicker at the bottom so you can trim it properly.
True. And if you're throwing a cup with a thinner base, like smaller
foot
circumference of a base, you always want the base of your pot to be heavier than the top, because then it won't, weebles wobble. They don't fall down. But yeah, I think that it's important to show people like what it can look like, but like somebody who's like 15,000 years into their pottery career cutting their fucking pot in half, why?
Do you think those people are listening to people talking about cutting your pots in half though?
Oh yeah, I think that the newbies and the people who are like still in the learning phase, absolutely, they find their potters and they're like, they told me that it's supposed to be even all the way through, and I'm like, yeah, well, that's in one instance, and there's all of these other reasons that it shouldn't be, and they're not telling you any of those.
Well, I think there's some people that will go by the rules that they were taught and they only listen to those rather than like learning through experience and like seeing where they can break it and where they can't and where the boundaries are and
right.
You know,
I am so thankful
what's doable
not
and what's not doable.
Class.
Oh, you should be. Yeah, you would have fucking hated it just like I did.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't hate it, but I definitely was like, I'm not fucking trimming my pots. But like also I was gonna say nobody can be Munabango or whatever his name is. That like guy from Japan. Like he is a straight up magician.
Yeah.
Master. Like if
Yeah,
there's
those
anybody
big
that's
pots
a master
he's making.
if there's anybody that's a master of pottery, that's the guy. Or somebody we've never heard of that's never cut his fucking pots in half. And
starting out in the studio with Jen and Steve taught ceramics, but he did not teach me ceramics. He was like, showed me once how to center and then said, I'm going to Nicaragua for 2 weeks. I hope you can do this by the time I get back.
Oh God.
He used to tell me all the time, you can't, no, that's never going to work. I'm like, the fuck, it's not going to work. I'll figure this out. He was right like half the time.
Yeah. Well, I lied to my professor and told her that I knew how to do pottery. And so then I took, you know that story, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Then I was like, I know how to do pottery. I need an independent study. And so she was like, okay. And so I just fucking learned it on my own. And with the help of people that are like had their masters around me and Jeremy, Jeremy.
Yeah.
I think he was like the first, keep in mind that I came from Colorado in a very conservative community. He was like the first gay guy that I'd met, like really met. And he like came out to me and stuff and he would make these tiny ass cups. They were slab cups and they were the thinnest cups and they were pink and they just said bitch. And he was like fabulous. So far before his time. He like fucking loved Lady Gaga. I'm like, he was great. He had to get carpal tunnel surgery.
Ugh.
He was the best thrower I've ever met. He was great. Anyway, continue. Awesome. Moving on.
Yeah.
We haven't really talked about the whole transitioning.
No.
We should talk about that.
Yeah. What do you want to talk about? Like, is there anything specific?
I think that it would be great to talk about the red flags and the boundaries that were crossed or weren't set at the beginning.
Right.
That you wish you had, and how those were met later on. You know.
And we're talking about the one large client that has been fired this year.
Yeah. So for context, 2 years ago, the client was 80% of our business.
Yeah.
Last year, the client was 34% of our business, but still 75% of our production time. And 90% of my time was spent on this client.
And let's also talk about how, also it should be stated that this client literally helped make Gravesco what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I don't harbor any ill will at all. Like, it was just really time to stop working together. And one of the really big reasons for that was early on in our career, in our collaboration, I was so damn excited to finally work with somebody who was willing to just let us do production, not have our name on it, make the pots so that I would have the time to make the pots I really wanted to. So it's like the concept of you're teaching and then you have your own product line, but I was doing production and had my own product line. And I didn't have to do the marketing piece of it because she was doing that. What I did not know at the time was, you know, I thought she was coming from a business background. I was coming from a corporate business background. I found out later she did not come from a corporate business background, and boundaries were not a thing that she acknowledges, understands, or respects. I am such a people pleaser that I allowed her to just tromp all over every one of my boundaries.
Because she
And then-
was so integral to your business being successful.
Well, it got to that point. Like starting out, it wasn't even that. It was just me having doing a shit job of managing those expectations.
Okay.
It turned into, then the business was so big, I felt like I couldn't. Because I didn't want to deal with, it wasn't just that I didn't want to lose the business. I didn't want to deal with the added stress of pushing back. And
but
she was
the goalpost kept getting moved, right?
It kept getting moved. And she was totally oblivious to the fact that the goalpost kept getting moved, because when I would say it to her, unless I was really angry and very firm, it wasn't serious. And, you know, she would tell me all the time, no means maybe to me. And I really should have listened to that. Understood.
She told you that openly, that
oh yeah. And I should have
Rebecca, when you say no, it means maybe in my head.
Yeah. And I'm like, no means no.
Run away.
No
Run
means
away.
no. So
and you said 2 years, but when did it officially start? Was it like is it more than 2 years of a?
Yeah, we worked together for almost 4.
Okay. Gotcha.
So about 2 years in, it got to the point that it was too big to walk away from without losing people on my team. And it was more important to me to keep the people on the team than it was to lose her.
Yeah. So you were taking on most of that burden of that stress.
Yeah. And I was doing a lot to shield the team from that stress when I could. But it was to a point, like one of the things that I recommend to everybody who talks to me about taking on this kind of a client, this size of a client, is set your boundaries early. You will respond to messages during normal business hours, Monday through Friday. I was getting text messages at 2:00 in the morning on a Sunday. And when I didn't respond immediately, I was getting, are you there? Hello? Are you going to deal with this? And it would be something like a customer got an order. They were excited about it. They posted it on social media. They did a really shitty job of taking the photo. It was bad lighting. Now she was concerned that the pots were wrong, that the glaze was wrong, or the color was wrong or something. I'm like, no, they're a shit picture taker.
And is that because you were drop shipping them? Like you were shipping directly to the customers and
Yeah, we were shipping directly. So they didn't pass through her hands.
So she didn't get enough trust at that point to know that you knew what you were doing.
There was never trust.
Never.
Ever.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, even after we had shipped, 50, 60,000 pots, there was no trust there, in spite of us having less than a 2% breakage rate, less than a 2% error rate. So that got out of control. And had I done a better job of setting those expectations at the beginning, I don't think it would have ever been nearly as bad. So that was, I think, probably the biggest reason that I wanted to get away from this project. And then the other one was raising prices was not up for discussion.
Yeah.
It would just be, well, then I guess we can't sell that anymore. Well, nobody's going to pay that. I guess we can't sell that anymore.
Yeah. Were you doing the same I know there was a focal product that was a bestseller, but was there a growth in the number of forms you were doing based on just trying to repeat buyers?
Yeah, we ended up with 17 forms in 16 glaze combinations.
Holy shit.
Exactly. And they wanted more forms, and they wanted more glaze combinations, and they wanted bigger pots. And every time you go bigger, you have greater loss, but they didn't want to pay for bigger.
And then they didn't want to allow you to raise your prices on the stuff that you were already making.
Right.
To hey, things cost more over time.
Yes. Yeah. And in the last 18 months, our costs went up 25%. And that had nothing to do with our people. That was just the material costs. So that had to be compensated for somewhere. So by the time we got to the end of it, not only was it, more than double the percentage of production time as it was actual percentage of business, 34% of our business with 75% of our time. It was also no profit. We had gotten to a point that my costs had gone up enough that there was no longer profit. So all of the money was going to just paying expenses and paying the team. And I was not able to take a paycheck anymore. And it just was not emotionally worth the stress.
Yeah.
Were
you actively like taking account for the time that you were spending doing all this back and forth with the customer and
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I was tracking that and was not getting compensated nearly what we should have been for the amount of time I spent, because looking at that amount of time, what could I have done for the business had that time been focused elsewhere?
Mm-hmm.
So that was when I finally made the decision, we're pulling the plug on this. And then it took us 3.5 months to sundown the project.
Right.
And finally wrap up all of the loose ends. So that ended last month.
Okay. And we're at end of May right now.
Yeah. It was like mid-April
when
we
you tell
shipped
her
the last.
in January?
End of January.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And there wasn't like you were already so far down the path. It wasn't a renegotiation. It was
no.
It was a hard stop and a
yeah.
Hey, this is where my business is going, and this is where we're at here.
Yeah, and over the last year, I had tried to renegotiate and tried to set better boundaries, and it just was not working. Like the harder that I pushed back, the uglier it got. And I don't know that it was ugly for the other team. It was just really stressful for me.
Yeah.
And for our crew. It very much started to feel like a lack of respect for what we do. And nobody needs that shit in their life.
And it wasn't like, and we're not talking about something being so significantly different.
No, it was really minor stuff or things that they had requested for a change and then forgot they requested the change. And that become like this whole catastrophic, we should stop all production. I'm like, but if we stop all production, my people don't get paid.
Yeah.
Because you forgot something.
Like there was one time I was making these bowls. The Roy bowls. And first of all, I should tell you that all of her products were named.
Mm-hmm.
And they're named her like her relatives and stuff. And I would be like, can I use the real name?
I mean, I'd rather you didn't, but you already did once.
Yeah, we won't say that one.
Call it some other name.
You're like, fucking Harry. Like,
or Harry and I are getting along really well today.
Yeah.
We have an understanding.
Yeah. Harry and I have been having some problems communicating, and I can't do this today.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she, like, there was a line on the inside of the bowl, and if it was 2 centimeters too far to the left or 2 centimeters too far to the right, the bowl didn't look big enough.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like good enough.
Yeah. And that little thing would be hours of my time.
Yeah.
And having to like walk through the process and
is that a specific thing to affect the function, or was it just a preference of look? It doesn't. Yeah. The end user would not have noticed, or it would not have been okay. Do you think that was? Do you think some of these things came up because she never was able to like see the pieces go through her to get to the end customer, or was it just her personality and her preferences?
No, it was whatever thing that she had lived with the most recently was what they should all look like, whether they look like that or not. And when you make literally 25,000 of a single form over the course of several years, you're going to get better at it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going to look like the first one. But if she would pull the first one out of her cupboard, she'd be like, why do these look different? Well,
right.
It's
Plus you have different team members making them.
Like shit.
Yeah, because that one sucked. Why did we even think that was good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did
So
she have other handmade products in her brand or anything like? Okay.
No. And initially when we started the project, the intention was that I would be making a couple forms and she'd find another potter to make some other forms and eventually work with multiple potters and it would be small batch. But the train left the station and went rogue and shit got out of control. And before you know it, we're shipping 2,500 pots a week.
Yeah. And from a client perspective, they probably the wholesaler perspective, they probably appreciate working with a single person that they know they're confident with, and they repeat orders and they keep going with, I know this person's personality, I know their throughput, I know I can rely on them. So why spread the love if you know you're confident in this person and less confident in this person? But
Right. And finding out that every potter has different processes, different kilns, different forms, different strengths, different glazes, different clay, like all of those things play such a big element in it. And for somebody who doesn't know clay, they didn't know that going in, that you can't just find another potter and they're going to use exactly the same everything. I mean, even if you and I used exactly the same clay and glaze, it would look different.
Right.
So yeah, there was a lot of that stuff. Like I spent a lot of time educating and re-educating. But I would say overall, the biggest challenge was lack of boundaries early on, lack of expectations early on, and my willingness to make things work no matter what. Like in December, I was at the studio. I shifted my schedule. I'd come in at 4 or 5 o'clock and I'd be at the studio all night because I had to babysit kilns just in case something happened to be there. And they did not, they disregarded our inventory of what we had available to glaze, sold the things that we were low on or out of, promised them to the customers.
Yeah.
And we were expected to fill those orders in time to ship for Christmas when they didn't get sold until the week of Thanksgiving. And it wasn't, you have to make 20 of something. It was, we need 600 of this.
Oh my gosh.
You remember like a couple months ago, well, during Christmas time, and I threw 44 big like mixing bowls. That was because of that.
Yeah.
Wow.
44, those were the 6.5 pounders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was like testing your boundaries with what you can do and what we know you've accomplished before, because you've strained yourself to make it work and like meet a deadline.
And we made it happen.
But and
if she'd said no
in that process,
if she had said fuck you,
right,
they wouldn't have been able to sell anything else. We wouldn't have gotten any money.
Right.
Nobody would have gotten paid. It's a whole like domino effect of things when you say no.
Yeah. If I would have said no, I had a team of 12 people who would not get a paycheck.
Because you don't have enough of your other business in the pipeline to say like, okay, we can shift to this other thing that I would like to focus on.
Right. Because it was too late in the game. It would be too short notice. So December was the final straw for me. That was when I was like, okay, after this, we're done. We're absolutely done. We're fulfilling any orders that happen in December, and then that's it. And it was, they were surprised. Not all of them. Her assistant was not surprised. She was very cognizant of what was going on. But she was surprised and felt like a little bit abandoned because I was not allowing, like when I said we're done, I meant we're done. We need to sell off the stock that we already have. We are not making anything else.
Right.
Because that would have drug it out for 6 months, maybe 7.
Yeah. Because you would have went down the path of, okay, we'll promise this quota, which is 50% of what we normally do. And then is that goalpost going to be moved to like 65% because she knows, and then how are you going to regain your confidence back and like actually put your foot down and she actually respect it,
Right. And she's really good at selling, like fucking amazing at selling. So my concern was she's going to go to her followers and say, we're stopping. Our potter's not going to be making the pottery anymore. This is your last chance to get an order in. What the hell would happen? Because what happened when they shut down orders for Christmas delivery was it almost broke us.
Mm-hmm.
What would happen if they thought they could never get it again? And she's got a lot of loyal followers who love the pottery, and I'm very thankful for that, but also could not do it. Could not do it.
And they're crazy.
Some of them are. Some of them are. And, we were also dealing with a lot of, I think one of the challenges I never expected going in was we were dealing with a lot of, yes, we want it handmade. We understand that they're not all going to be the same. But then it turned into, we know it's handmade and they're not all going to be the same, but we want it to be the same within a 1/16 of an inch tolerance. And if somebody bought a bowl 3 years ago, why doesn't it match the glaze now? It's like, well, hell, we've been through 3 different variations of Zirco packs in the last 2 years. Who the hell knows?
Yeah. The materials have changed. How do you expect,
Yeah,
I'm not a glaze chemist here.
Well, even with the glaze chemistry that we do, you can't make the same exact shade of a glaze year to year to year.
Yeah.
Like, there's no factory in the world that would guarantee that their glaze matches something that they did 4 years ago.
Yeah.
They're dye lots in the fiber industry, and it's kind of the same thing in the ceramics industry.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm so relieved to be done. But once that ended, and, it was only about 2 weeks before we were completely finished that my side of babysitting that finally was able to end. And I was able to start focusing on the direction that we're going to be going. That presented an entirely new set of things. Like, it has been a stressful AF year, but also like the stress now, at least I know that it's moving towards what my vision is for the company and moving towards being able to better support everybody on the team once this is up and running. And something that's going to be sustainable in the long term.
Okay.
It's almost like starting a whole new business.
It really is.
Just with a little bit more knowledge.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. You're kind of relying on some of the bread and butter stuff, and then you're also, you've got flexibility to get creative with the other time you have.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I've been focused on now is when Justin came on board, he's the graphic designer. He's like, I think that we could tighten up your branding and make it more consistent across all platforms, but also your brand name is all capitals. It's very shouty. You're talking about your pottery and the lifestyle is slow living and it's cozy and it's all these things, but your branding is like Gravesco Pottery. Yeah, that's pretty much how I felt when I designed it. Yeah, it was a stressful time. So that's getting softened, and then working with him and with Rob, who's doing the digital marketing side of it, and he's revamping the website right now. They're like really embracing the things that I want the brand to be and making it visual. And that's incredibly exciting. And when I go too far rogue because I have an idea, they're like, okay, that's really cool for social media, but not the website, and this is why. So it's been cool to kind of have the freedom to do whatever the fuck I want in the moment, but also still have those extra voices who can see where I'm going, see what I want, and kind of keep me from going too far afield.
Checks and balances.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you know at what point how much effort you have to put into the branding to influence whether you're going to get the return on the sales you hope for?
That's a tough number. Like, I don't know that I can quantify it at this point. If we were in a stream of it just being Gravesco and not having this other client, within a year, I'd be able to tell you what those numbers look like. But because we're also shifting the entire business model, I don't really have a good grasp on how that's going to affect us. I will say, though, from when we lived up at the lake and I was Rebecca Graves Pottery. We moved to the city and I'm like, we're hiring more people. This does not need to be my name. My social media handles were all Gravesco because I had originally thought when I build the company, I would call it Graves and Company.
Mm-hmm.
And Graves and Company was taken on Instagram when I launched. So I got Gravesco, and then people started calling me Gravesco when they would see me out in public.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all know each other by our Instagram handles.
Right.
Oh yeah.
You were 5 Lines forever.
Oh yeah, I still am. I still am. The only thing I got going for me is the Becca Bowl. That's it. That's the only thing that
The Becca Bowl.
That's the only thing that's got my name in it.
That's not even your brand.
No, I've graciously given it away.
So when we switched to just Gravesco Pottery when I moved here, the identification of that and people finding our website, like my web traffic more than tripled. Just by having that name recognition. Mm-hmm. And then we actually 3 weeks ago, were able to buy gravesco.com.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
What did we have before?
Gravesco Pottery.
Ah, yes.
Oh, nice. What about like graves.co? I think co is a...
Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
Oh, that's a good mistype.
I think .co is a like domain, like .com, .ed,
yeah,
it is, or whatever. I think .co. I'm guessing that's just
there is no
fucking
way Graves.co is available.
Oh, we'll find out. Gravesco.com was owned by Graves County, Kentucky for the longest time, and I kept trying to buy it from them, and they wanted
Graves.co. This site can't be reached.
All right. I'll be, don't buy that and make me pay you $5,000 for it.
Better get on it before this episode releases.
When I bought 5 Lines Pottery, thankfully it was just a fucking weird ass name, but 5 Lines Pottery, I also had to buy the wording 5 Lines Pottery. Mm-hmm. Also, I think that's a good thing to point out. If you're buying a website, you should think about all of the ways they will not spell your website's name.
Yes.
So like I knew that somebody's going to use a number and somebody's also going to use the word. Yep. So I did 5 Lines Pottery, and it's like really important. Like you can buy 3 domains and have them linked to the same website. Yeah. Super easy.
Yeah. We've got, I think, 8 domains linked to Gravesco Pottery.
And what's the best one? Custom.
Just linked this one. So I've been sitting on this domain for 10 years, customlogopottery.com. And we just linked that and are building the custom logo pottery site. But I have gravespottery.com, gravescopottery.com, gravesandcompany.com, RebeccaGravesPottery.com, indianapotter.com.
Indiana Potter.
Shit.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Because when I decided that I was starting the business when I was living up at the lake, I bought like 20 domains that I thought I might be interested in using.
Mm-hmm. And you got one more going to be added to the list soon, it sounds like.
Yep. And gravesco.com now points to the website as well.
Nice.
So yeah, that was a fun discussion with the digital marketing team. Because they're like, I don't know if it's going to make a huge difference. And then there's Christy, who used to work for GoDaddy and Intel. And she's like, buy the domain, sell your car if you have to, buy the domain.
I mean, I'm guessing it just because even though it's shorter, I mean, it's easier, right?
Yeah, it is easier. And the funny thing is, my mother-in-law up in Canada, she's very proud of what we're doing. It's awesome. She's such a good supporter. But she sends people to our website all the time, and she always sends them to gravesco.com.
Before you had it.
Yeah, so now she can send them to gravesco.com. It's good.
Watch, she's not going to now. She's going to send them to the right fucking website now.
Which is fine. That one connects too.
There you go.
Yeah, so part of the whole rebranding, I think the main thing that's going to have an impact, more so than in changing the name from Gravesco Pottery to Gravesco, the bigger thing that will have an impact is just the overall brand standards, the colors, the consistency of how the logo is used, The way that the logo is softer and more reflective of soft home goods versus heavy-handed branding.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it's not going to be a thing that feels like a huge difference to some people, but over time, it will become much easier to remember and more synonymous with what we're doing.
Yeah, I think when I first saw it, or maybe semi recently or something, it's got like an industrial kind of look to the back when an older brand or something. Like it looked like it'd be on metal or something.
Yeah, the older version did. The new one is it's like a really earthy red. It's the shade is very similar to the red that Frank Lloyd Wright used, which has been a recurring color that I've used since before I knew who Frank Lloyd Wright was, and was probably one of the reasons that I fell in love with his stuff early on.
Do you have the new logo anywhere?
I don't think I've got it up there yet, but I have it on my phone if you want to see it.
I would like to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. The website will hopefully, if we've got all of the details worked out, we'll hopefully launch this week with the new homepage, and then it'll take about a month to get the rest of the website caught up to that.
Yeah, so by the time this airs, it'll probably be up with the homepage.
Yeah. There's the new logo. It's just super simple. We'll still use the X, but it's not going to be part of the logo. It's going to be the separate logo mark.
Mm-hmm.
Lowercase.
Yeah, because right now the Gravesco Pottery on your current website, it looks like it's like separate. It looks like Gravesco is like the brand, and then Pottery's like a subset of it, like Gravesco Design, Gravesco Pottery, Gravesco.
That was intentional.
Home. Yeah.
Yep, that was intentional because at the point that I designed that, I was planning on eventually switching from Gravesco Pottery to Gravesco Living, and having different divisions or branches of it.
Yeah.
So finally dropping it to just Gravesco is something I've wanted to do from the beginning, but just didn't have the domain for, so I went with what I had.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's all happening. And then the biggest, I think probably the biggest transition piece for me and possibly the rest of the team is I'm spending 99% of my time in the design studio on the other side of town, in the building that we live in, because all of my time is on the computer. Like right now, I'm writing copy, I'm editing photos, doing photos, writing product descriptions, working on marketing plans, working on like outlines for where the sales are going and what markets we're going to target and how we're going to target them and what the messaging will be and all of that side of stuff.
Wow. Yeah, way more marketing strategy focused than seat of your pants and what shows do I have coming up and what clients are reaching out to me for these wholesale reorders and
yeah.
Absolutely. So up to this point, like if you had asked me if I wanted to open a retail space, I would have emphatically said, oh, fuck no. But about a month and a half ago, Justin came in and he sat down and he's like, I have to talk to you about something. It was very serious. Oh, shit. You can't quit yet. No. He said, I know of a space over by the studio that's going to be available for retail this fall. And I really think that Gravesco needs to open a store there. And then he showed me the numbers, the sales numbers of the store that's there now, and they don't have a sign. And their social media presence is basically, we have this in stock. We have this in stock. We have this in stock. They don't have like a heavy engagement.
But they are a plant store.
They are a plant store.
And people like plants.
Yes. And they also don't have like a big email list, or they're just in a really great little neighborhood and have built a loyal neighborhood following. And they're doing really good sales. Like if we did even less than what they're doing starting out in the first year, we would make $500,000.
Wow.
And the rent is incredibly inexpensive. It's less than a mile from the main studio. It's 12 minutes from here. So I talked to the landlord and I have the lease. I need to finish going over it this week and get it signed. But We should have possession September 1st, and we'll be opening a store by the end of September.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. Congrats.
Yeah, thanks. So that's going to happen. And the reason that I finally said yes to it is I realized I have a team. I don't have to be the one running the store.
Yeah.
Like everything prior to that was, I spent 25 years in corporate retail, and then I ran my own gallery where I had my own studio and gallery in
Back
one
to your
space.
roots.
Yeah, I'm kind of going back to my roots, but if I'm not doing the day-to-day customer service piece of it, all of that back end I can do in my sleep. Like that's the water I
you can
swam in for
oversee
so long.
and guide,
Yeah.
and then like what it should be, and then teach some people how you want it, and then let them go, and then
helping Vicky pick out which one of these 3 things is going to best match like the sofa cushions she has. I would kill myself. Like literally cannot do that. People would never come to the store again because I can't hide on my face what I'm thinking.
Sometimes they love that. I just want to say that. I worked at a paint store for a very long time. And I remember people asking me like what they should do. And I'm just like, just buy this one.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't fucking just stop thinking and just buy the gray. You're going to like it better in 10 years.
Is it the light French gray?
Yes.
Just buy the light French gray.
Buy 0055 light French gray.
To everyone listening, just buy this one. She's right.
Just buy that gray.
It's funny how there's some, I don't know if it's just, I just see it as like how people spend their time and what they spend their time thinking about. That it's like, I spend my time thinking about 15 different things that I could be doing or that I need to be doing. And like this person is nitpicking about what they want to do on this little bitty thing. And it's like, why are you spending that much mental energy on this thing?
Yes.
It's not important, but it's like, that's what's important to them in the moment.
It's phenomenal. The amount of front door colors that I have picked out for people is unbelievable. And like the fact that they're just like, I just don't know. This is such a big decision. I'm like, it is not a big decision.
It's $50.
A quart of paint. It's 20.
It's $20.
It's a quart of paint. And just, it doesn't even have to fucking match your house. What's your favorite color?
And you can change it if you get tired of it. Like,
yeah, exactly. But yeah, people are so much like that when it comes to retail situations. And for some reason, in a handmade setting versus a corporate setting, like if you went to World Market and their pottery was just a little bit fucking different, nobody would care.
Nope.
Like the glassware at World Market is all different.
Yep. And it's charming. But but there's only 3 of these that match, and I need 4 that match. No, you don't.
No, you don't.
Buy
In
2,
fact,
you're gonna
you
be
need 4
happier.
that don't match.
Yes.
Ugh.
Yeah. So
I'm also clearly not.
Becca
equipped.
and I will not be working retail customer service.
No.
Did I ever tell you that one time I got threatened? I single-handedly got a guy kicked out of our store forever, because I told him I didn't care. He was like telling me, he was like trying to narc on some other lady, and I was like, you know what? I don't fucking care. I don't fucking get like while I'm rolling his paint out, huh?
At Sherwin-Williams?
Yeah, I was like rolling his paint out, and then he came in the next day screaming at my boss and telling him that if it was 10 years ago, he would have blown up my car.
Oh my God.
And I'm like,
that's excessive.
He knew where I lived. He lived like a mile away from me. And
what a monster.
I know. And my boss was like, well, what do you want us to do? And I was like, well, I don't ever want to fucking see him again. Like,
guess you're buying Benjamin Moore from now on, bitch.
Go to Lowe's.
Anyway, I can't imagine.
No. Becca and I will not be running the retail side of stuff.
Becca, what did you think of the East Fork retail spot in, I want to say that was Atlanta. Did you?
Oh, I really liked that one because it was all seconds.
Oh yeah, that was the one that you told me.
It's all seconds. It was just piles of pottery. Nothing fancy. It did have like IKEA shelf things. The shelves were nice, but it was very just pottery on shelves and
everything had a defect, which I wish they would have made clear before you entered the store. Like, I'm like,
you were so underwhelmed.
I'm like, what the fuck? This is like, why is this
You're like, this has got an issue on it.
thinking that it, well, you were there, like thinking that it was like supposed to be perfect Eastwork pottery. And then I walk up and I'm like, what is up with all this stuff? Like, what's going on? And she's like, oh, they're all seconds. I'm like, well, God fucking damn it. You could have told me that before I started judging and like screaming across the store. This one's messed up. Like,
always settle.
I'm nobody should ever release me into public alone, especially into a consignment shop. I realized today, well, actually I've been realizing recently that I am so fucking judgy. Like
No.
I know. I would never judge a human, but if there is a pot not attached to a human, I'm like, you're so fucking dumb. This is stupid. And like I have to hold myself back so much. Like,
When you
so
see a pot,
what?
a handmade pot.
Yeah, anything handmade, honestly. I just have to hold myself back. Like, if there's anything wrong with it, I'm like, one time I picked up a pot in Portland in this tiny ass store. It was like a consignment store, and it was cracked on the bottom. And my cousin was there, and I was like, "This fucker's cracked." And like the people in the front counter were like, I don't know what to do with this. And my cousin's like, shut up.
So at the open house, story time, at the Mother's Day open house, Christy and I are talking to this couple about having a business focused on, like, they were like, oh, we think it's so cool that you're a production studio and you have all of these artists who work here. And we're talking about how, like, it's important to us that the potters not work 5 days a week and end up exhausted at the end of the week and can't do their own work. Like, it's important that you have that outlet. And so Christy's talking to them about it being human-centered and all this stuff. And we hear from the other side of the wall, Becca go, basically, Rebecca comes up with the designs and I'm her machine.
That's why I'm behind this wall.
The whole studio goes dead silent.
I am her machine.
So ironic, the last sentence just came out of Christy's mouth. She's a machine.
And she's like, you could have not said that right then. I'm like, but it's true.
Rebecca has her own machine called Becca. She stays in a little room.
It was amazing. It's going to be one of my favorite stories for a long time.
I have really impeccable timing. Is really what
it was magic.
Plus your voice carries, like.
What?
It does.
Yeah. It was fantastic.
Well, it's hard to explain production pottery to people.
It is.
It's like, I was valid in the way I described it, for sure. But yeah, it is hard to describe. It's like, well, what do you do? I'm like, well, I make the same thing fucking over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I'm what, like, they pay me instead of buying a machine.
Yeah.
And then do they say, oh, I would hate that. You have to make the same thing all day?
Sometimes.
Well, in context, too, it was a pottery tour. So there's 5 studios, and the other 4 studios are either teaching or more fine craft, fine art.
Oh, okay.
A lot of sculptures, a lot of one-of-a-kind work, and we are the only production potters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
a lot of the clientele was potters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
there were a lot of potters doing the tour, and a lot of people who have taken a class at one point but wanted to see the other class spaces in the city. So there was a lot of, wait, what is this? Do you have classes here?
Or maybe they're like, we've heard of production pottery, but what does that actually mean?
Yeah. We had several people who were like, if only you would buy a gas kiln, I'd come rent wheel time from you. And I'm like, well, first of all, I'm not going to spend $45,000 for you to come rent wheel time from me. And also, we don't rent wheel time.
Also, we don't want to see you.
It's like we try to make sure
retail
there's
space
not
when
too
it's
much of
not Becca and I. You'll have a much better experience, I promise you.
It's like we stagger our work times so that we don't see too many of each other at the same time. So
the most, it was funny when Merritt started working, she was actually in the studio. We are very tight, and we like to be there at the same time usually. And we have lunches together every single day at the same time. And when Merritt came to work for Gravesco, she was fucking terrified. She was like, what is happening? Like,
I'm never gonna fit in here.
Yeah, she's like, I don't like this. I don't like that we have to like talk to each other. Like, what's going on? But yeah, like apart from that, we really don't want to talk to anybody outside of our space.
Yeah. And Christy, who is very much an extrovert, she's like, how did you get an entire team of introverts? I'm like, I literally put it in the job description that I am seeking introverts.
So, yeah. So, like, funny story about Christy is that she introduced herself on Slack, which is like this,
like a team chat.
Yeah, it's like an instant messenger.
Right, yeah.
New
and
school
like,
instant messenger. Yeah.
And you can have different pages and stuff for different things. And so, in general, she puts this fucking like long ass description
of who she is, what she loves, all these things. And we all looked at it and we're like, we're not reading that. Like, so many words.
We're like, that's a lot.
And the less they responded, the more she felt she needed to offer. And then finally it was like, Christy, they're all introverts.
And we didn't know she was the way she was. And then like we meet and we all click perfectly. Like she's wonderful. But we were just like, who is this person that's like talking so much?
And she's over here going, who are these people who don't even respond?
Yeah, so rude. Funny.
Yeah, Rob and Christy are the extroverts on the team. Sarah gets pretty extroverted at
times. Abby.
And Abby's an ambivert, but she's always down for whatever's going on around her.
Yeah, Sarah and Abby are ambiverts. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how much are you like people managing and like you've got a lot of managing what needs to be made and all that, how big is that part of your time?
I'm really missing right now. Abby is out. She's on a leave of absence and we're not exactly sure how long she'll be gone. She's still in our Slack channel, so she checks in every now and again. But Abby, Mackenzie, and Bradley all are co-managers of different parts of the studio.
And technically me too.
But then you said you didn't want to be, so you're the lead potter.
Yeah. I still keep an eye on everything, but I don't like want the title.
Yeah. Or the
responsibility.
Yeah, I don't need that.
She'll jump in when I need her to.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we started using Slack last year, and it's been really good to help me just know what's going on. Everybody can drop things in whatever channels they need to, so I know what's happening with the kilns or with glazing, and we can drop communication in there so stuff doesn't get forgotten as easily or missed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it still happens sometimes, but that's been a big help. I was spending a crazy amount of hours every week, like ping pong ball around the studio. Talk to Mackenzie about this, then go talk to Becca about this, then talk to Sarah about this, then over to Bradley, and then somebody else has a thing. And like I spent all this time just putting miles on my shoes unnecessarily.
And now if something's confusing, we just all get mad at each other.
Yeah.
Not like
I'm not as involved in it.
Yeah, she's not as involved in us getting angry with each other.
Okay. So y'all don't have like your staff is not to such a large state that you need to have like a weekly sync up on Tuesdays or Mondays, and you're
Probably
like, okay, let's get an update on the glazes and on the kilns and on the production throwing and like.
Yeah, we're gonna start doing once a month meetings on the first Tuesday of every month.
That will help.
Because I've spent the last 2.5 months trying to figure out what directions we're going, and then getting all of that started. And the digital marketing team has a great idea of where we're going with it, but the production team doesn't fully have a grasp of what the overarching vision is. But also I haven't been at a place that I've been able to articulate it because I wasn't sure how much of it we could actually implement.
Yeah.
So now that we've got implementation started and we have a good timeline and I have a solid understanding of that, instead of feeding in bits and pieces of this is coming up, I'll be able to lay out all of that info and we can talk about things. But in the meantime, like Mackenzie and I just met last week and talked about making sure that since Abby's not there, and Abby was normally like the people person who connected everybody in the studio and then let me know if there was anything that I needed to know about or deal with. I need Mackenzie to step into that role. And she is very introverted and uses very few words unless she's talking about something that she's very passionate about.
Like her cat.
Yeah. Or some really crazy story about her neighbors.
Right.
Which she has the best damn neighbors now. So, so like we're still dealing with a lot of growing pains about how do we handle that communication in the studio. Also still keep me in the loop when I'm not over there nearly as much for right now. And empower the rest of the team to make the decisions that need to be made.
Yeah, and like one thing that also is it's not a, I don't know what the word I'm trying to say is, but it's like not bad, but because our whole team is introverted, we tend to assume things instead of asking multiple questions.
Yes.
So instead of like being like they're like, I don't want to like bother you.
Right.
So I'm just gonna like do this. So we kind of have to like unlearn that a little bit sometimes.
Do you have to prompt questions from the person so that you know that, because you know they're not going to ask follow-ups?
Yes.
Sometimes, yeah. And like, and it's fine. Like, you know, you just have to, that's like kind of a thing. Like you have to know those type of things. Like the fact that we are all introverts, that's going to happen.
Yes.
And
that was a piece that when Abby was in the studio, she was able to meet everybody where they were as an introvert, but also be extroverted enough to ask questions when they needed to be, or bring something to me and go, I saw this and I'm not sure if this is right or not.
Right.
And then I'll say it to the person who did it and they're like, yeah, I saw that too and didn't know if it was right or not, but they didn't say anything or didn't.
Yeah.
They assumed that it was that way on purpose.
And if I do it, I'm just nosy. No, I'm like a little too blunt for like, I'll be like, so what are you working on today? Oh yeah? That doesn't look right. Like, you know, like, but yeah, so she's just really good at that. And yeah.
So it's been an adventure. Like it's getting better. This week we had a snafu with some stuff that just like when the big client quality control issues were insane. Everybody was on such high alert for everything. So when we stopped working with her and stopped making her pots, instead of relaxing, it just kind of went away. So like if Becca made a thing and it went to the next step and it got screwed up at the next step, by the time it got to the next step, they were like, well, guess this is how it is. And it would just keep going down the line. And by the time it goes out the door to be finished, everyone along the way thought, oh, I didn't think that was right, but nobody said anything.
Yeah.
So at this point, now that you're not working with that client, you're saying you need to be a little bit more particular along the process and ask questions or just like
I think until everybody balances out, because it was like, oh, well, we don't need to be this vigilant about quality control, because some of the things that she felt were quality control were not quality control. They were just like having unrealistic expectations of handmade.
Yeah, like a stamp being completely visible all the time.
Right. It can't have part of it not be visible, and it can't be slightly crooked. And I'm like, I don't know, put it on the bottom. Like just have it on the bottom. It's fine. Oh, it's too dry to stamp. Not a problem.
Yeah.
Not ideal, but nobody's going to be like pissed off that it doesn't have this stamp on the bottom. So we're trying to find that balance between what is a relaxed expectation from what was unrealistic to
what are your new standards?
What are these new standards? And the scales tipped a little too far one direction. And it's not that we're sending out shitty pots, not to be confused with Becca's shitty pots, which are awesome.
Right.
It's that there are things that we're making it to the bisques stage.
And it's like
I wouldn't have been happy with.
Yeah, it's like a whole thing too. Like, she's been out of the studio more, and we also got, the trimmers came in a little newer. Like it's just like a whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That just happened, all aligned.
Right.
So does that provide an opportunity? Are you still unloading kilns, or who's unloading the kilns, Rebecca? You're not doing that.
No,
right?
I don't unload kilns.
Okay.
And that's like, if I were loading kilns, this could have stopped sooner.
Yeah.
When Abby was loading, because Abby was loading like 80% of our kilns, she would catch these things. And if it was something that happened prior to trimming, she would go directly to the trimming department and be like, hey, I noticed this. This isn't what we want. When you see it come through like this, like, don't spend the time putting a handle on it. This is just put it back in the rework barrel.
Yeah, it's gonna get
the potter to figure their shit out.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Or
so that's
something happened in handling it in the damp box or whatever.
Yeah.
So having that piece missing with Abby loading the kilns and being so good at managing the quality, and then not even bringing it to me, but just taking it right to the person who needed to know, because she knew all of those steps.
And Abby's been with the company for years.
Yeah.
So she knows.
Yeah. So she really knows.
Right.
What I failed to do was to like spend time with Mackenzie and say, I need you to pick this back up, because Mackenzie did that before Abby.
Yeah.
I assumed that she would pick it up and go to the right person.
Right.
So now that she knows, she will, and it'll all be fine.
And it's not like a set them aside and then have a group discussion of, here are some examples and here
Nobody
are
has time for
some
that
things.
shit.
Okay. It's like, go right to the source.
Yeah.
And they will remember it because you specifically called them out on this one thing.
Yeah, and it's like, I'll put myself under the bus. So it's like this last week, I threw 100 man mugs. I don't know if they're officially called man mugs.
They're called big handle mugs.
Oh, okay, yes.
But in the studio, we call them man mugs.
We call them man mugs.
And we call the handles mandles.
And yeah.
Big mandle mugs.
Mandle mugs. So I made 100 man mugs. The first time I made them, I forgot to put in a thumb indent. No idea why. I forgot. I think it was the first time I'd thrown mugs in a while. And then I remembered on way too late.
Like 2 days.
2 days
Yeah,
late.
because you have to put that while it's wet, right? Maybe the next day, if you're lucky.
Yeah, like way too late. And I was like, abort. And
we got a new style of mug.
I'm like, we are overstocked on everything except this one damn thing. Of course it was that one.
I'm telling you that, like, maybe there's just a curse on anything like men related. Like,
is this a sign that we're supposed to just be feminine based?
I think so. And so I was like, abort. And we were able to save like 80 of those and make them into candles.
Yeah.
Right? Not put handles on them. 10 of them got handles on them, whatever. Okay. So then I made them again. And
changed the process.
Well, the process had already been changed, but it was the second time I'd done this process, and the first time I fucked them up. So the second time I was throwing them on bats. Normally I would throw them on the wheel and pull them off with pot lifters. So I was throwing them on bats, and I put all the bats on a cart, and then I put thumb indents in them at the end. And some of the thumb indents, I was putting them on the bottom shelf, and some of them I was putting them on the top shelf. So
some of them are high,
some of them are middle, and some of them are low. So like they're in different places in the mugs. And so then Josie put on handles, and so some of them are like down near where the handle connects, and like it's just stuff like that like, if Josie had known, like if she had the like that specific knowledge, then she would have been like, oh, I'm just gonna like smoosh this up a little bit, or not even fucking do it, like not even put a handle on it.
But she was like, well, I guess this is what these are.
Yeah, she was
or
like,
if she was like Becca, she'd be like, Becca, dots are not in the right spot.
Yeah.
Higher dots.
Right. Higher dot. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, and like these are things that we as individual potters do all the time.
Right.
But when you have a full team of some people that don't have any pottery background at all.
Right. And like, had you been putting the handles on those yourself,
I
you
would have
would've
been like, no,
that's not fucking right.
I would have been like, this is not okay. You know?
Is a lot of it because of the introvert thing that you're not going to bring it up to the person that was before you because you're just not don't want to mention it?
Yeah,
or
not in Josie's case. I think in Josie's case was she just literally didn't know.
A lack of knowledge. And that is not her fault. It's just now she knows.
Yeah.
And it's not like you're going with everybody and saying, this is the new product. Here's what it's going to look like. Here are the main features of it.
Yeah, but it wasn't new.
It wasn't new.
Or
it's something that we haven't made in a while.
Yeah, we just haven't made it.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, and so like it's those type of things that you don't think of in a team setting when you're by yourself.
Right.
Because you figure out every single process and like you're your own quality control.
Yeah.
But when you have like
14
people.
And then when there's something that's wrong from the beginning and it goes to trimming and the trimming person doesn't catch it and then they spend the time putting the handle on it. And then let's say like there were, I think out of that 100, there were 28 or 30 that had other issues with them that happened in the trimming department.
Mm-hmm.
Then the person who was loading the kiln didn't catch them and sand them and pull out any seconds before they went in the kiln. Now they're bisque fired.
Mm-hmm.
So then if the glazing person didn't catch it, they'd be glazed.
Just like exponentially.
And then if the person putting it in a kiln didn't catch it, and then if the person unloading the kiln didn't catch it, it gets to shipping. And Chris is an architect. He's not a potter. He's just like, here's my pot, gonna pack my boxes.
He's the most introverted of us all.
If you can't figure it out by the positioning of his eyebrows, he's not saying it.
Yeah, and so like if it gets caught at trimming and they don't even fucking trim it, like if it's my fault and they don't trim it, all we've lost is the cost of the clay.
Yes.
To get remade.
Right.
Because I don't get the money. Like I get the money taken away from me, which is fine and what should happen, and I remake it. You know.
But if it's already bisque fired, I mean, those people have already been paid.
Right. If it's by the time it gets to it's glazed and we've lost our full wholesale price.
Yeah.
So we just lost $21 per mug times 80 mugs.
Yeah.
Like had they gotten that far. Fortunately, because we had just talked about quality stuff last week, because we had one order slip out the door that should never have gone out. And the lady was totally cool about it and we're fixing it and it's not a problem. But because of that conversation, Savannah texted me. She was like, I don't think this is right. You're right. That's not right. I'll come over and take a look and see what's going on. Sort these out. Let's figure this out. I messaged Becca. I messaged Josie. Like, let's get this under control. But like the opportunity for something to snowball fast is impressive.
Because I mean, you're turning pots around. That one pot that gets made, that Mandel mug or whatever, like that thing's probably getting to on the greenware carton fired by the end of the week, right?
Oh yeah.
By the end of 2 days.
Usually 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
2 or 3 days.
Depending on the moisture level in the air. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. She literally, like, when she texted me, she's like, are you okay?
This is the second time you fucked these up. What is going on?
But it also doesn't seem like something that you would want a middle person in between the throwing and the trimming to be like quality controlling it. It just needs to be baked into, the team, right? So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all growing pains, and it's all just.
And like we had done such an incredible job of instilling this is what is okay and this is what isn't okay with that other client.
Because of fear.
Because I don't fucking want messages at 2:00 on Sunday morning. We didn't spend as much time on those quality issues with the Gravesco line and probably should have revisited them with every piece coming through because Josie's not a potter. She didn't come from a pottery background and she doesn't know. And some of these forms we haven't made for a while because we had a bunch of stock.
Let's not, like, she's a fucking badass.
She's a badass.
Like, she's amazing. She just doesn't have the knowledge that we do in that specific, genre.
It's like she's got the skill to do it. She just doesn't always know what right is supposed to look like.
Which is totally fine. Yeah.
Yep. And she's learning. It's been really fun. Like she's starting to catch things like there's 3 different ways that this particular pot has been trimmed. Which one is right? And I'm like, all 3 of them are right. If the bottom is thrown thin, you can't do an inset foot. Rather than scrapping the whole pot, you could do this foot. If the bottom is too thick, the inset's deeper because you want it to be the proper thickness.
Right.
And if it's just right, if the pot was thrown exactly perfectly, this is what it should look like. But none of those 3 are wrong. This is just the target. So she's starting to pick up on those subtleties, which is really cool. It's just now we've got the team making stuff that we haven't made for a while. So I need to make sure to.
There's a lot of shit. I mean, not shit, but like there's a lot of items.
Yeah. We've got like, I think 42 forms.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
And how much of that is like, a mug and you've got 6 different mug shapes or,
Yeah, we've got a lot of different bowl shapes and a lot of different mug shapes. We've got a lot of different planter shapes.
Candles.
Yeah, a lot of different.
Yeah, I would suppose you probably have like a mug body that's the same, but the handle is like, you like this handle or this handle.
Yeah, we've got one that it's the same body with 2 different handles. All of the other ones have different bodies.
Yeah. And it's really getting difficult to make nicknames for them all.
Right.
Yeah.
You
Do
might
you actually have
start
other ones
by their real names.
No.
Yeah. Do you actually have more than just like the Becca Bowl that are named after people in the studio?
No,
but I make nicknames for almost every single piece that I make that's new. Like if I do a test. So like
there's the imposter.
The imposter, the tall imposter, the poor imposter. That's the newest one.
Yeah.
I named that one today.
The Thumbler.
The Thumbler.
The man
mug.
The man mug with the mandel.
Yeah. We did the
bodacious Becca is coming.
The bodacious Becca, the baby Becca, the Becca.
Yeah. And then there's the boring old postable.
Yeah.
Which every time I put the postable on Becca's list, she goes, "Which one?"
Yeah.
Wait, I thought that was the impasta.
Now it is.
Problem solved.
You said imposter though, didn't you? An imposter bowl?
Imposter is the candles. Because it's it's not a stolen design, but it's a very similar design with a twist. So it's an imposter. But
it was originally my design to begin with.
Correct. Right. Okay. Just for legal reasons, it's
an imposter.
20% changed.
Okay. Now you've got an impasta.
Now we have an impasta.
I like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. Okay.
Are you sad that you don't get to get your hands in clay as much nowadays, Rebecca?
Yeah, I really miss it. I am very much enjoying the challenge of what we're doing right now. I wish it was less financially stressful, but I'm enjoying the mental challenge of it. I'm also enjoying that my shoulder doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
So like allowing that to heal and repair has been kind of an added bonus I wasn't expecting to have happen. But yeah, I'm looking forward to once all of this is launched, and it'll probably be like this for the majority of this year. My hope is that by the end of this year going into next year, I'll be able to get back in the studio and make stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I would suppose a lot of this work now is very front loaded, so you don't really get to reap the rewards until like the site's launched and you actually get, all the copy done and all these different things updated for the marketing. And
it kind of like, it's a good example. It's a good example of the way a business should be run. And I feel like in the craft industry, it's really hard to run a business that way, where it's very heavy on the marketing digital aspect and not like being an entrepreneur. When you're an entrepreneur, you usually have people under you working for you, and you're the idea person, as opposed to, as we've talked about, like being a solopreneur,
right,
where you are doing everything. And I think it's very difficult to have an extremely successful business in any craft, just generally, unless you do approach it with that in mind, beforehand. Like, because we all come in and we're just like, oh, it's just gonna be, I'm just gonna make stuff and show up to shows. Like, it's not that.
No, when I was a solopreneur, I made pots 2 days a week.
Yeah.
I did shows 2 days a week, sometimes 3 with packing and unpacking.
Yeah.
And I did my digital marketing in between. So I had no days off ever.
Yeah.
And if I wanted to do more marketing, that meant I had to give up something else.
Yeah, you have to give up the time to actually produce the things that you're selling. So, like, how good is spending time doing computer work when you can't even produce something that you're trying to sell on the computer?
Right.
That computer work is going to help you sell.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, at that point, I could spend my time marketing, but then I didn't have a product to sell or to ship. Or I could spend my time making, but then I didn't have anyone to ship it to.
Right.
Because I didn't have the marketing piece of it. So this feels like once it's all in place, it will be a better balance. And I'd love to get back to being able to be a maker at least 1 day a week again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, that's my ultimate goal.
Do you feel like that marketing side, you kind of have to be at a point in your career of the business that you can set that as your focus? Because if you just start out of the gate and just focus on marketing and you're like, I don't really know what I'm going to make, but it's going to be amazing and it's going to look amazing. But
trust me,
maybe your pot quality and like.
Yeah. I mean, some people have done that. There are potters out there. Their pots are fine. But their marketing was fucking amazing. And I'm just like, how the hell do you have 125,000 followers and sell out in minutes? Because those pots are not fabulous. And also you're charging 4 times what we're charging for them. But also it makes sense because they're also having to pay for that time that they're spending on marketing. Yeah. So I think depending on what your business model is, like, you can find a way to make it work in any business model, but ultimately once the marketing train leaves the station, it starts this like cycle of you have to keep feeding into every piece of it.
And you have to have the tracks underneath you of like the processes behind the scenes of like packing and shipping and like replying to customer requests and like getting back to people on social and actually having answers to questions that maybe you haven't come across yet, but you can answer them in a professional way that like is good for your business and not going to set you back, but also something you want to do.
One of my friends, Veronica, she has Business Laid Bare, and she's an operations person. So she does operations training for small businesses, primarily that are service-based, but because what we do kind of crosses back and forth between service and product, she tests a lot of things with me, or she'll talk through like, okay, what is a pain point for you right now? What are you spending too much time on? And I remember pretty early on when I was still working by myself, one of the things she said was, what I'm hearing is that you're spending a lot of time replying to customers who are asking the same questions. So in your notes on your phone, make a separate note for each of those questions so that you can copy and paste the answers when people ask them.
Right.
And it's like, there's 10 questions that I get asked all the time. So I had responses that I could just copy and paste and maybe change a word or two.
And then if you're able to do the website stuff, put an FAQ section, and then all you got to do is say, that's answer to my FAQ. Here's a link to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So all of those little steps, like from being a solopreneur to having a team of 14, I am still weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annually looking at what are the pain points and what are the sticking points and what's causing friction and what can we do to make those things better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I struggle sometimes with like, I'm skilled at certain things, and it's like, what do I want to spend my time doing with like the spreadsheet business side of it and the analytical side of it? I'm like, I could sell this product as like a thing, but like, do I really want to put the effort in to like market this and make it look pretty? Or rather just like email somebody the link to like go do all the stuff for free because I don't want to deal with like how much do I charge for it, and then if people have problems, like how do I figure that out? So it's like, I just want to like make some pots. I mean, I have some good back-end systems, and like this I do for free, and it's fun, and we can schedule it, and it's not a burden. So, stuff like that is in my wheelhouse, but it's like I could do these other things, but I don't really want to be doing that. So
yeah, then don't.
Yeah.
Like the whole marketing side and the planning side of it to me is interesting and fascinating, and it's satisfying to me. It is creative to me.
Mm-hmm.
There are days that it's super stressful, just because I like to check things off a list that they're done. And the bigger the team gets, the harder it is to check things off the list because parts of it are relying on someone else.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, the creative process to me of designing a lookbook for the holidays, and then how do we spin that out into emails, and how do we turn that into blog posts, and how do we turn that into social media posts, and how do we share this with our wholesalers so that they have this information to share with their customers. Like, that piece of it is just as creative to me as sitting down at the wheel. But also, I have always considered myself a designer, not an artist, and a crafter, not an artist. So, like, I don't have that deep need in my soul to be making the next amazing thing. Right. I'm more at like figure out the mechanics of how it works and how you get it out there, and the putting all of those puzzle pieces together is the part that I'm super passionate about.
Yeah. I mean, you do also have a staff under you that is checking off all these to-do lists. So like you actually have a lot of to-do lists in flight. You just don't see them because they're doing ticking all the marks for you.
Yep. Absolutely. So it's kind of, when I was working alone, I could make a to-do list and I could check everything off by the end of the week. And now, like, there is no such thing as a to-do list. There's like all of these running projects with all of these different to-do lists.
I mean, I keep, when you were talking earlier, I was like relating it to like the corporate stuff, like corporate yearly goals and then quarterly goals. And then the quarterly goals are very vague. And you're like, what's the measurement for success for these quarterly goals? And like, what do we actually do to get these accomplished? And the project takes like 2 months, and it's like, where are we at with this? Oh, I got this one email from this guy and we're replying back, and we moved the tick like 0.5% closer to the finished thing. And it's like, it's going to take them 3 days to do something and get back to me. And it's like, feel like nothing got accomplished, but
But in the grand scheme of things, like, there's a whole bunch of stuff like that right now that's been going on, that when Jen did this photo shoot, it's like, okay, now all of these photos finish all of these projects.
That's not a dependency anymore. It's accomplished, and all these other things can continue. Yep. Yeah, that must feel great when that got done.
It is a totally different business now than it was 2 months ago. Like, completely different.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you're not worried about are you actually getting more time to yourself and not spending Sundays replying to text messages and all that?
Well, I'm not spending Sundays replying to text messages. So I am still working an obscene amount of hours. However, instead of waiting for the next what the fuck to pop up on my phone, I am going through all of the projects and just checking off the things that I can. So like over the weekend, I had a COVID booster and a tetanus shot at the same time. Don't do that. If you have an autoimmune disorder, don't do that. That's dumb. So I was pretty miserable the entire weekend, and ended up like sleeping for 20 hours and then laid in bed with my iPad and sorted through product descriptions and started cleaning them up. So me laying in bed with a movie that I like playing in the background, sorting through product descriptions, doesn't feel like work after what the last few years has been.
Yeah.
I still get to a point, though, that I'm like, for fuck's sake, I haven't had a day off in like 3 weeks, and that's not okay. I don't wear this as a badge of honor. I wear this as somebody stop me.
Yeah. Where it's like, if I'm traveling, I'm still trying to find a computer task that I can do for, even 2 hours. But it's so hard. It's like, I've got this task I want to do on the computer. It seems like nothing. I would do it if I was at home, but now that I'm traveling, it's like dedicating 2 hours while I'm relaxing somewhere. Like, okay, I'm gonna get up at 10 a.m. or whatever, and like work for 2 hours. It's like I don't really want to just sit at a table and work for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Like that's so hard. But
we took a 3-day mini vacation last month, I think it was last month. And we went down to Bloomington, Indiana, and we stayed at this Airbnb that we love. That's like an old church, and it's just really funky and cool. Mm-hmm. And I took my computer in case of an emergency, but I never turned it on the entire time we were there. Did not turn on my iPad. And I read a book and I knitted some stuff and I took my spinning wheel and I spun some yarn.
And I feel like we did a pretty okay job at not contacting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the stuff that I got contacted about wasn't like, hey, Rebecca, hey, Rebecca, hey, Rebecca. Because the first time we went, it was a lot of, hey, so I'm doing this. I'm like, you never communicate this much. What the fuck?
Yeah. Are they trying to ease your worries because you were gone and you just wanted the reassurance that things were staying on track while you were gone?
Or asking me to make decisions on things that they were capable of making decisions on. So we're past that now. And I think it was just FYI, this happened and this is what I did to take care of it instead of how should I solve this? So I didn't even have to really think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was way better. It was really nice. We spent the time watching movies, and I don't know that Chris put pants on the entire time we were there. He was just
probably not
playing video games.
Oh, that sounds great.
Chris rarely wears pants.
I didn't mean the pants part. I meant playing video games for 4 hours. That sounds great.
They have they used to have them at Pizza Hut, the table Pac-Man, Star
Those
Wars,
are the shit.
Space Invaders and Galaga, and
I always like Centipede. I like that one.
They don't have Centipede on it because they don't have the trackball.
I have a funny story about Chris that I have to tell. So it's very short, but I had to borrow some sweet potatoes from Rebecca, and she was down here, and Chris was up in their apartment, and so I don't know if anybody actually texted Chris I was coming.
I did, but I think I did as you were coming in.
Yeah, as I was coming in. So I knocked on the door. I knock on the door, open it up, and I was like, "Hey, Chris, are you decent?" And he's like, no. and I was like, "Could you put a blanket over it?" Yeah. And I'm like, "Thanks." And I got them sweet potatoes. I didn't even look at him. And I left, but
he lives in his boxers and a t-shirt.
I mean, I've seen him in his boxers and a t-shirt, but yeah, you just know that when he's in his apartment.
Yes. Hey, Chris, can you come down and help me with this thing? Pants are off. Never mind.
I asked him when I was, I asked him to help me with putting in, or I don't know, taking down some neon, and he was like, "Oh, my pants are off."
Yeah. I asked him today because he got home early. There wasn't a lot to do today. So he comes home early and I go, "Oh, that's awesome. You're home early. Can you come down and help me? Because I have to go down and do this photo shoot and you could help me with this, or you could do the measurements." And he goes, "No, I don't really want to." God damn it. I wish I could do that. My brain can't even compute how that process happens.
I don't. I
don't really want to.
Oh, Christopher.
That's great.
And also, that was because we went into the bedroom, he came out in his boxers, and then I asked him, and there was the looking down at his boxers, do I really need to say this?
One time we had a fire alarm.
Why did we have a fire alarm?
We had the fire alarm was something stupid, but
was that because of you?
No, not that one. But so there was a fire alarm, and me and Rebecca we just pulled in. No, you had just pulled in. I was outside. That was the fire alarm that I walked outside and forgot the cats. And I was just like, "Screw you bitches, I'm out." I knew it wasn't a real fire, but also I walked outside and everybody has their animals, and I'm like, I didn't even think about those. I'm
texting Chris, where are you? And he goes, I'm in the apartment with the cats. What? The cats are scared. Put the cats in the crate and come down. I don't have my pants on. It might have just been no pants. He might have just texted no pants.
No pants. So Chris
No
stayed in the
pants,
apartment
cat scared.
for the entardy
like 40 minutes
of the fire alarm, cuddling the cats pantsless. And looking at us through the window.
Yes. I see you.
I see
my
you.
God.
Great.
Those are the most annoying. I used to do that in college. It would go off all the time. So I would be turn the lights off, stay in bed. Yeah.
I think the cats finally know where to go where it's like the least loud.
Yeah. It's the least loud in our bedroom, and we don't let them in the bedroom because of my allergies.
Yeah.
So Elliot's just like, just get me close to daddy and I'll be fine. And Ruby's, she just freaks out and hides inside the sofa.
Yeah.
Jeez. All right. Do we have the questions here from
what happened to the questions?
Do we want to bookend it with that and then?
Yeah, let's bookend it with that.
All right. So Green Cabin Pottery, since it's a couple of them, we'll go with the first one here. Do you have or do you recommend manufacturer's insurance? So if a handle breaks off for some strange reason, you are covered if they spill hot coffee on themselves. Seems like a lot for a small business, but I don't want to miss anything going forward.
I would recommend working with your insurance agent. You need business insurance, like full stop. I don't care if you're just selling at a couple shows a year, you need business insurance. A lot of shows or most shows will tell you that you're required to carry a certain amount of coverage. Mm-hmm. They don't ever check, but if somebody trips in your booth and you don't have it, you could be like in some financial pain. So I worked with my insurance agent and was like, listen, every year we have a phone call. This is what we're doing. This is the sales volume that we're doing. And he adjusts our policy based on what we're making and what our sales volume is. Mm-hmm. To make sure that we have enough coverage.
Okay. And is that that's just a blanket for the products and stuff? It's not different because you sell at shows. It's all covered for all of it.
Yeah, we've got it in there that we may sell at a retail location or outdoor events or that sort of thing.
Okay. And then do you have something specific to the contents of your studio that's included in that as well?
Yeah.
And is that a separate policy just for the studio brick and mortar?
Nope, it's all the same policy. And then my design studio is a rider on that policy. So it's a different location and it just notates that it's a different location. But when I was a solopreneur, my business insurance was like $500 a year.
Yeah, I think.
And I broke that out into monthly payments.
It's $39 a month. If you basically mine was $480 for the year with 3 of us named on it.
Yeah.
For the personal studio.
And even still, like the business insurance itself, I think I'm only paying like $650 a year right now. But then I have workers' comp insurance on top of that and the second location on top of that.
Mm-hmm. And then you're going to have the retail. Yeah. Okay. Because I'm sure there's different certain criteria you need for retail because you'd have people coming in and going and
right.
And okay. Yeah. And that covers like fire and like water damage and all that kind of stuff.
Yes, I've got all of that. And there's a different amount, like it's a different policy if you have a studio where you sometimes have an open studio where people come in, which is what we do now, versus having retail every single day. Because when you have people in every day, it changes your liability.
Yeah.
Right. Because the opportunities for issues are a lot larger.
And a lot of my policy is dictated by the landlord because in both of my leases, they have really specific requirements of what I have to have coverage for. So that's kind of like the baseline for my policies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And a lot of the times, if you do have a landlord, you can go to their insurance person and get a business policy from them. Since they wrote the policy for your landlord, they can make it specific.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep.
Okay. So, and how did you get to that with an insurance person? Did you just have to ask them the right questions of like, I make this and I want to make sure, is my booth covered if it blows over at a show? Or am I covered if a customer breaks a piece or something and hurts themselves?
I went in not knowing anything. So the first time I opened a gallery was my first business insurance. And I just went into my regular insurance agent and I was like, can you do business insurance? Sure, what do you do? And we spent 45 minutes going over what the business is, what I made, what the retail side was like, what the building was like, gave them my lease so that they could look through the requirements for the lease. And they built a policy around that for me. Okay. And then we just meet annually. If something major changes, like when I got all of the new kilns last year, I shot a message to my agent and I was like, hey, we added these kilns.
And that's because you have so much more valuable items and equipment.
Yep.
You want to cover. Okay.
And you can have just liability and not personal property.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you know, if my entire studio burnt down, like without the building burning down.
Just the contents, because it was concrete with a concrete roof.
Yeah. Just the contents. No, but like the old studio, if that burned down, it'd probably be $50,000 to $60,000 worth of equipment.
Right.
But now mine personally, it's like $5,000. So like if I'm gonna save a shit ton of money by not having personal property insurance versus just liability, then I'm just gonna go with liability.
And for me, even when I was a solopreneur and I had used everything and it was, you know, I had maybe $2,000 or $3,000 invested in it, I did have my computer and my camera and all those things that were part of the business that were covered under the business policy. So if they were stolen out of my car, it would be covered.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That sort of thing. So, but I was doing shows at the time too. So I wanted to make sure that like, if I got in a car accident, my shit would be covered from doing a show.
Yeah. Yeah. My fucking tents were worth $1,500 just by themselves.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that brings up I just wrote a note about the camera, laptop, printer, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That you want to make sure are part of it if you got the personal property.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Do we want to answer this? You want to do this last one, Becca? Do you have it handy?
Yeah. Okay. It's short. It's about pricing. Would you rather price it including tax or price plus tax?
Price plus tax.
And that's from Green Cabin Pottery as well.
Price plus tax. No question, no hesitation on that. Customers expect to pay tax. When they don't have to pay tax, sometimes it's confusing and now it has to become a conversation, and I'm an introvert and I don't want to talk more than necessary with a stranger. But also people expect to pay sales tax. Sales tax is going to be different everywhere you go. Like we're in Indiana where it's the same in the entire state, but every county and sometimes every township in Ohio is a different tax bracket. Yep. So how would you even do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. You would be on Square and say, price this including tax, and you would set you can do that on Square, but it's just like I feel like I still get those questions at shows sometimes, and some people, depending on what they're pulling out of their wallet, sometimes if I see them pulling out a 20 and it's like, you know, $16.75, I'll be like, if it's a spoon rest, it's like $16.70 or something, and I'll be like 16 even with tax, and I'll just take on the 70 cents to give them $4 back instead of 3 and some change or something. But if they're pulling out 15 exactly and they've got it right there in their hand, like, I don't know. Sometimes it's hit or miss, and I'll like go back or forth. I'm still gonna pay the sales tax, but I don't know.
And that I think that's a big part of why this question gets asked so much at shows, because some people don't want to fuck with it, so they just say, don't worry about it. Some people don't actually collect and pay their sales tax even though they're supposed to. So the customer's like, woohoo, I didn't have to pay sales tax. Some people will use it as a bargaining chip, like, well, if I buy 5 of these, will you give me a discount? No, but I'll cover the tax for you. So like when you're in that market environment, there are so many different ways that people handle it. But when you go into a retail environment, no one ever asks that question.
Oh my God.
Nobody's handing over cash and they're like, is it cheaper because I'm paying in cash?
No.
Well, unless it's a fucking business owner and they're like,
they want to go through that whole rigmarole.
They're like, here's $100. Nobody has to know about this.
Like,
oh God. But also I will say, we are very lucky in the middle of the United States, because on the western end of the United States, especially in the northern part, Alaska, Oregon, and Montana don't have sales tax. And so those states are exempt. So you can go to a different state and say, I'm exempt from sales tax.
Yeah.
And so
Because
like
you live in one of those states?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh gosh. Are there people that take advantage of that? I'm sure there are.
All the
yeah.
time.
Because they're adjacent to a tax state.
Oh wow. So you could they could just go into like Costco or something and say I'm exempt and show them their license. I'm sure some of those businesses would ask for a license or something, right? But
Yep.
wow.
Yep. We used to have, when I was working at the department store, we used to have people come in all the time, and they would be clergy, and we'd have to like get these forms and fill out forms for them because they didn't want to have to pay 5.25% tax at the time.
What's clergy?
Pastor.
Oh.
Yeah.
So they're tax exempt.
And then when I became
Clergy?
ordained on the internet, they were like, yeah, no, that doesn't count.
Wait, clergy people don't have to pay tax?
I don't know if they do now or not, but when I was working at the department store, they didn't have to. And
well, just
there would be
imagine.
some-
I think they, I think a lot of religious businesses
not
or whatever
taxed.
are not taxed. So you imagine paying with a business credit card or a business card from a church establishment, and if you're tax exempt, you don't owe taxes. So I don't know if sales tax is different, but
it was a lot of paperwork. I hated it.
The only thing I know about pastors and stuff is that, well, I know a lot about pastors, but my friend's dad is a pastor, or was a pastor, and he was the finance pastor, so he was basically the accountant, and he would buy everything for the church on his Cabela's card,
so he could get the points.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Okay. Yeah, it for me that it's definitely a question at shows. It's more like it's like an in the moment thing where you make a decision depending on what they're willing to do and like their demeanor a little bit.
Right.
And if
I'll
just be like, whatever it is. And
the last show that I did, somebody said, "Oh, well, so-and-so didn't charge me sales tax." And I went, "You're a real business." And I was like, that was fucking rude.
I mean, it's still got to get paid regardless. So it's like, and the whole business owner thing, like you said, Becca, the other business owner saying, here you go, don't worry about it. Like, we get it. You also don't keep your books like I do, right? Like you don't report cash just like I do. Yeah. It's like, come on, dude.
Yeah. I'm always like expecting that to be the tax auditor on her day off.
God, fuck yeah.
No, I'm not giving you something to blackmail me with.
Yeah. All right. Anything else? I think we're
where
good.
can we find you on the Instagrams, even though we've talked about it?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Gravesco. Grav as in Victor. ESCO.
Did you have to get any other Instagram handles, or were you?
I have custom logo pottery Instagram as well. I haven't done anything with it yet.
Yeah.
Didn't you just add something to your name? I saw. Oh yeah, it says Rebecca Graves at the. This has Gravesco Pottery, Rebecca Graves, but then the name is Gravesco.
Yeah, my Instagram handle is Gravesco.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And then gravescopottery.com, and then it's going to be gravesco.com.
Well, yeah, you can use gravesco.com right now.
Look at that.
It'll forward.
Nice.
And then on Facebook, like, don't even freaking bother. And dear God, don't ever send me a message on there because I can't figure out the business manager.
It's so hard.
I don't even understand.
I have no idea how to even get on Facebook anymore. I don't know my password.
I hate it.
Like, God forbid if somebody hacks me.
And if people reply to like stories in there, it doesn't even show what story they replied to. No. It just says a message, and I'm like, what is the context of this? And then it marks it as a message, and it's saying like needs to be replied to, and I'm like, why does this affect your reply time
I can only log into it on the computer. I can't on any of my other devices, and I'm hardly ever like on Facebook on my computer. So I don't ever get any of the messages. So yeah, don't find me there. I am also Gravesco on Pinterest.
Yeah. I'm so close to deleting Facebook. Just all of it.
Love it. Love it. All right. And then when is your new revamp going to go live so people can like look at what it looks like now, and then is it going to go live in the next couple of weeks?
Yes.
It's going to go live in the next couple of weeks. I would say safely June 14th.
Okay. Maybe this is a subtle like set your own deadline, but also give people something to look forward to. So
No.
No.
Nope. But it'll take like for everything to really get completely turned over. My actual goal is to have it all ready by the time we launch the retail store.
Love it.
So it's a work in process. It's going to be a summer project.
Yep. And that store is going to be in Indianapolis, Indiana. So you might need to make a trip there later this year.
Yeah.
You might actually. Do you all have anybody that like reaches out and like wants to come like see the studio or anything like that?
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you open to that, or because you're all introverts, you're like
no, it's really disruptive.
Yeah.
Because everybody has projects and everybody's on a trajectory. So when somebody wants to come visit the studio and they're the only one doing it for the day, that's like 2 or 3 hours out of my day, even if they're only there for an hour.
Yeah. That's why you do the open studios and you do the clearance sales and all that, so they can stop in and you all aren't hands in clay busy.
So our goal is that every month we'll have at least one open studio day until we open the retail space.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, the only reason she said yes to me was because she was like, oh, this chick's like, okay.
Yeah.
Yes to you? Oh, when you were just randomly coming for a week? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
I came for like 3 days, though.
Plus, you were coming from farther away.
True.
You actually like made an attempt and like made a trip.
Well,
you
and
weren't
it was
just in town.
and it was specifically to see how the studio worked.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had plans. Like we've had people just show up and knock on the door and be pissed that I wasn't there when they're in from out of town and I had no idea they were coming and they didn't reach out to me first. Like they just expected us to be open.
Mm-hmm. Did they like see people going around inside but they don't get let in and they're like or they're like, where's Rebbeca at?
Or Chris, our most vocal team member, not vocal, will answer the door and he's got these intense eyebrows. So they're like, this mean dude answered the door and told me you weren't here and then closed it.
Didn't invite me in or anything. That's great.
Yeah. No chill.
All right.
Chris is usually very nice, especially if he knows somebody's coming.
That's
He is the face of our custom studio pickup. When people buy online, they can pick up at the studio. That doesn't mean they get to come in and have a tour. That just means Chris will bring their shit out to the car for them.
Oh, there you go.
And he smiles.
Don't come in, but we'll bring it out to you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Love it.
Yeah.
Curbside service.
There you go.
Required curbside service.
Love it. All right. Well, Rebbeca, thanks for joining us. Becca.
Thank you.
And we'll see y'all later. Hope you liked it. Bye.
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 All right. You want to stop the recording now?
Yeah.